All right.
Hey,
Sorry about that.
no
Yeah,
problem.
we had technical difficulty there.
Yeah, right.
Um, all right. So the last question that I had asked you about was how did you feel, or how, what did you think about how the community feels towards police officers? Now I want to ask you,
But did you get
being a
what I
black,
said though?
yeah, yeah. I actually, I was still able to see you. I just couldn't communicate with you.
Right. And like I said, what people need to my job is not uh towards just police work. Understand? I told you, I'm for the people. And as a police officer, you need to be for the public. You need to be, and the people need to be aware of certain things. And I really, it really bothers me sometimes when I see comments in a section, and some comments people are absolutely right in my opinion, absolutely right. But then there's so many comments that I can see that that person's just taking up for a cop. You just taking up for a police officer. That's all you're doing. You, you have to realize, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. When you watch a video of a person calling the cops on somebody, because they see them in the building, and that person lives at that building, that person lives there. You can't go to a swimming pool. That person live. They're allowed to be at the swimming pool. It could be a swimming pool. I've seen videos of the swimming pool in their community where they lived at, and the person is allowed to be there. That's the type of also personality. I'm not saying it's all cops. There are excellent cops out there. There are more good cops out there than bad. And I want to make that perfectly clear. But you also have to realize is that the type of personality, the type of energy, type of spirit that will call the cops on a kid selling waters. Those are not just people that work in just offices and that's it. Some of those people become cops as well. And that's why you're seeing the things that you're seeing. That's why you're seeing the things that you're seeing, because that's how they actually feel. Rather, I don't know whether you want to call it fear of the job, fear, or your fear of people. But like I said, if you're that afraid, you don't need to be a cop. And that's just facts.
Okay, and I agree with that. Um, that kind of took me a little bit off course of the
I'm sorry
question I
about
wanted to
that.
ask you.
Sorry about
No,
that.
you're all good. You're all good.
Right,
You're all
right,
good.
right,
All
right.
right, so I'm gonna jump back on what you just said in a minute, but I do want to
Okay.
ask you. All right, being a police officer yourself, being a black
Yes.
police officer, how
Okay.
does the community receive you? How does the community treat you?
Good question. Wow. I've had good experiences and I've had terrible experiences. I've had beautiful embracing experiences, like finally, and I've had people say this out their mouths, finally we have a good one. Finally we have a good cop. We need more like you, or they'll say things on the lines of that. Man, if we had more cops like you, man, policing it would be better. If we had more people who thought like you as cops, man, cop work, we'll have more respect for cops. They'll say things like that. And I've had bad experiences as well. I've had some bad experiences as well. I've had people tell me upon when I asked them, why are you acting the way you're acting? Why are you treating me and these other officers the way that you're treating them? But if a white officer was to pull you over, you'll act like you got some sense. You'll act accordingly. I had them admit it to me. Yes, I will. So what's your problem with me then? You really don't realize and understand that I've became a cop so that I can be there for my own people. It was important to me. It was important for me to be there for my own people so that they can see a positive, person that looks just like them, that has been through what they've been through, seen what they've seen, that's in their communities trying to make a difference. That's one of the reasons why I became a police officer. So when I do come across people, and black people, Hispanic people, my own people, and I'm treated a certain way only because of the uniform. They don't even know me yet. They don't even know what kind of cop I am. It does hurt. It hurts. I'm not even gonna even sugarcoat it. It hurts. It hurts deeply, man. It really does. It's like, wow, I'm actually here for you, and this is how you're treating me. Wow, it puts you in loss for words. But like I said, I've had some embracing moments as well. I became a mentor at a high school. Now, this was a high school to where as though it was a high school of foster children and children that were in placement homes. They've been locked up so many times, or they've been kicked out of so many schools. This school was like the last resort. Like, this is your last chance. And I was like a security officer slash mentor there at the school. Now, in being at the school, I had to put myself in a position first because, like I said, I'm of service. So it wasn't about me thinking about myself first. I had to put myself in a position first to understand that I have to interact with these children that already don't trust cops. Why? They are in a system. They don't trust anybody. Their families put them in a system. A lot of them were molested, and so by their own family members. So it's like, if I can't trust a family member, what makes you think I can trust a cop? So these kids gave me hell. These kids gave me hell, but I was okay with that. I was okay with that because I know that it was something lacking in their life, and that was love. They didn't have love. So my approach was, I cannot walk into this high school and just kick in the door and be of authority. Doesn't work that way. No, I have to show them that there are good men out here because I was born a man. I wasn't born a cop. So I have to show them that there are good men out here. And yes, just so happens that I'm a cop and you can trust us as well. And I had to do that with love. Constant, constant, constant love. No, make a difference how many times they were suspended from school, kicked out of school, no matter what was the problem, what was the issue. I knew I couldn't turn my back on them. I had to constantly keep working day in and day out at this school to build that trust and love so that they can come to me and I can open up to them. And when I did that, a lot of them said, wow, I didn't know you was from the same streets as I'm from. Yes, I am. I'm from the same exact streets you're from. I've seen the same things you've seen, maybe even worse. So I'm here to tell you, you can make a difference. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be a regular statistic. And some of them actually said to me that when I saw one of them, I came across, he put me in tears. He was working an event and I heard somebody call my name. And I said, hey, what's up, man? How you and your crew doing? That's what I said to him because it was him and a group of guys. I said, how's your crew doing? He looked at me and shook my hand and said, thanks to you, everybody's doing fine. One of them still calls me to this day and calls me dad. Now, mind you, I'm not his biological father, but he said he looks at me as a father figure. He looks at me as a father figure. And he said, a lot of my friends look up to you too, man, because you never gave up on us. And we can call you still to this day and just get advice. Manly love advice. And he said, man, if we only had more cops like Hardy, if we had more men out here like you, and that's the joy of the job. That's the passion of the job. That's what the uniform means. The uniform does not just mean lock somebody up. That's actually easy. It's easy for you to pull out your cuffs and lock somebody up. I'm asking you this question. How many people have you helped? Now I'll wait for a cop to answer that for me. How many people have you helped? And how many people have you helped just because that's what you're supposed to do, not for recognition, not for a reward, not to get yourself in the paper so you can take a picture with a plaque and say, hey, look at me. No. How many people have you helped because that's what you want to do for the people? I'll wait for a cop to answer that to me. And it's not too many people that are out there. I say a prayer every single night. And a part of my prayer, I'll share that with the world because Christ is first in my life, first of all. And I'm not afraid to speak on that. I will speak on that always. Christ is first in my life. He's my Lord, he's my Savior, and amen to that. And God bless all that are watching. But I say a prayer and I actually say to God, I know I'm here to do a job, and I know my job may allow me, it may have forced me to have to lock somebody up. But Father, bless me to be able to help somebody. Bless me to be, I don't care if it's just a smile on somebody's face, because you have to realize something. If I clock into work and I put my uniform on, and all I've done was put a smile on somebody's face, it's a couple things they're going to say to themselves. Wow, that seems like a good man. He seems like a good guy. He made me laugh. I was having a bad day, and he just made me laugh. And then they're going to go home and realize, okay, and it was a cop that did it. Doesn't that build a good rapport to between the people and the police officers?
Should.
It should. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that my job is not just about locking somebody up. That's easy. Do what's hard. Help somebody. Can you do that? Help somebody, man. That's what we're here for. That's who you are as a police officer. You're here to, like I said, protect the serve, protect, whatever order you want to put it in. But that's what you're here for. And I dare a police officer to challenge that. Challenge me on that. And we'll see how far you get with that.
Is actually interesting that you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
As you was talking, two incidences that I had been through myself had came to mind, and
Mm-hmm.
it showed the difference between two totally different police officers.
Right.
In both situations, the car that I was driving broke down. And one situation, the car that I was in had broke down, and I was pushing the car up the street, and a police
Right.
officer came along, called me. He called for another unit. He was able to get behind my car and push my car with his push bumper, and
Mm-hmm.
while I steered, and then the other car was kind of keeping traffic away, which I was only
Right.
like up the street from my house, but it was helping.
Right.
Then there was another situation where a different car that I was driving. I think it was something wrong with the battery or something like that. I don't really remember, but I actually
Okay.
called law enforcement to ask for permission. Hey, would I get in trouble if I'm pushing this car up the street? Because it's a dead car. We'd have to go through a light or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the officer there was like, no, you can't do that. And if you even try it now, I'm a give you a ticket right now. And as you was explaining that, I thought about it. One cop stood out, and made a world of difference, just
Mm-hmm.
going out of his way to help. And the other one was like, if I only had a negative experience with that police officer and didn't have a positive experience with this one, that could leave, um, you know, opinions and views in my head toward all cops. When it doesn't really, pertain to all cops. There are good cops. There are, not so
Mm-hmm.
great quality cops out here.
Right.
So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because you did mention as far as
Mm-hmm.
like helping people and not for show, because I know the officers who helped me out, they didn't get a reward for that, other than a handshake and a thank you. Um, and the cops that could have helped me out, yeah, they definitely left a lasting impression in my mind. But I
You,
guess
you
that's a
know,
little bit off topic.
you know what the reward is for that?
What's that?
I'm gonna tell you what the reward is for that. I get to go home and look at myself in the mirror and know I just helped somebody. I don't care for numbers or anything like that. It's something with police work that's very, very interesting. Some police officers like to use the word, activity, activity, activity. Numbers, numbers, number, activity this, activity that. Okay, well, give me your definition of activity. If I may not have gotten an arrest, I may not have gotten a car stop, but every business owner knows who I am by Officer Shaw. Everybody knows who I am. Everybody knows who I am. They see my face. Hey, how you doing? Is that not activity?
It's
What's a good
interacting
police
with the
officer?
community.
What's the definition of a good police officer? Somebody that can just place cuffs on somebody, or somebody that can come to work, look on a crime board and say, wow, we had a lot of car break-ins in this area. Okay, this person, well, we had a lot of robberies in this area, this particular area. Okay, if I'm your supervisor, as long as I see you patrolling that, okay, you may have you didn't get an arrest. You didn't get a stop. But I saw you patrolling in the area where we have a high crime area of car break-ins. I saw you patrolling in the area Whereas we have a high crime of robberies. You've done your job. You've done your job. It's as simple as that. I don't know why people make it so difficult. You have supervisors and you have people that make it so difficult, and I don't understand it. I will never understand that.
Probably another question I'm gonna have to come up with.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for people that want to watch. That's fine.
All right, and then all right. So something that was mentioned a couple times. You know, even in the example that I said, and you know, some of the words that just came out of your mouth, which has brought up questions to situations with bad cops or cops, you know, who have done something outside the approval of the public eye. So, as you know, there have been a number of people, you know, which is a part of their job, people who have died at the hands of police officers. In some cases, those have been justifiable murders, and I'll call it murder because that's what's on the death certificate when the medical examiner signs it off. And there have been situations that were clearly unjustified, and then there were the questionable ones. Well, in the public eye, there's a lot of the time there's oh, you know, cops are out here killing, you know, unarmed black men, or you know, even in some cases women and children, and a lot of, and even in some cases the individuals that are killed aren't black. And the question is asked, where are the good cops? Where are the cops, you know, who are supposed to step up and say something about this? Or, you know, why aren't you arresting your own kind? Where are the good cops? What do we say about that? You know, why aren't good cops speaking up and saying anything about these situations?
Really good question. I'm glad you asked me that, actually. The good cops are there. Like I said, there are more good cops out there than there are bad. The thing with that, good cops don't want to be in a situation that I'm in. You're not going to become rich being a cop. You know, so if you think you are, you're in the wrong line of work. But we can make a good living for ourselves. You know, we can have a nice home and a beautiful family, and take care of our children and put our children in good school systems, which you should want to do for your child. We can do that. And the good cops out here they know police work. They know how it works. They know the tricks and the verbiage that's used to keep them silent. And they know what will happen to them if they speak out. Not every cop is like me. Not every cop that you can call, you're gonna get an honest answer, or you're gonna get an answer. I'm not saying that there are not cops out here that wouldn't talk to you. Just that you have a lot of cops that will talk to you that in their conversation it may seem like that they're all for cops, and that's just what it is. And there's no beating around the bush for that. And there's reasons for that. And if you ever hear something called the code of blue, the blue code, you ever hear that?
Blue line.
The
Yeah,
blue
I've heard of the,
line, blue code.
yeah, blue.
All that is a saying, a code that was created to keep the good cops' mouth shut about the corruption that they see. About when they see a video of a cop that you clearly shot this guy and had no business doing it, but you're gonna keep your mouth shut about it. You're not gonna voice your opinion about it because you're a cop speaking up against another cop, and there's consequences behind that. There's consequences behind a cop speaking up against another cop. You know, I'm a victim of that, so I know. I'm not speaking because I've heard of it. I'm speaking because I've been through it. It's just that I'm not afraid of it. If my law enforcement career is done and over because I spoke up against corruption and racism, then okay, fine. I'm fine with that. I can look at myself in the mirror and you know, for the rest of my life and know that I've done something righteous. And I've done it for the people. I've done it so, you know, for the next person after me. I've done it for the people that are still in law enforcement. You know, so it's fine. You know, I can't expect for everyone to have the confidence that I have. I can't expect for everyone to have the heart that I have. You know, but don't think for 1 second that there are not good cops out there. And maybe good cops out there that want to speak up, but they're afraid because they know what's going to happen. There was a commissioner that I saw on a video. Of course, I'm not going to say names or whatever, but there was a commissioner that was on video, and this commissioner was being interviewed about the police corruption in this particular city. And there were a couple cops that were interviewed that had enough heart to step up and say, yes, you can interview me. And basically what these officers were saying is that if I didn't bring in a certain amount of numbers of this, that, and the other, or if I didn't do this, that, and the other, I was blackballed, you know. And that commissioner said on TV, he said, I'm not going to say that if an officer doesn't do what his commanding officer told him to do, that he's going to have a good career, but I'm not going to say he's going to have a bad one either. Well, if he's not going to have a good career, then he's going to have a bad one. There are no gray areas with that. You know, the point the people don't realize, for the public, the general public, what they don't realize is right in front of their face, what he's indirectly admitting to you is that, yes, if a police officer doesn't do, what his commanding officer tells him, whether it's illegal or not, or if a police officer speaks up, there's consequences behind that. You're not praised and put on a pedestal because you're speaking up against police corruption. You're now the bad guy. Forget the corrupt cop. Forget him. You spoke up against another cop. You're the bad guy. You would think that you would be the one that would be the hero. You would think that you would be the one that did something righteous. And for all my brothers and sisters out there that have spoken up against corruption, I'll be the one to say, I love you and you are righteous. You did something right, regardless on what it is. But that blue code, that thin blue line, that's something that's in place to keep people's mouths shut that are in law enforcement. Because they know if you don't keep your mouth shut, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. Some cops have been physically hurt behind it. But you just know that your law enforcement career is done. Your law enforcement career is done if you speak up against police corruption. If you speak up against racism, which is corruption within the police department, if you speak up against stuff like that, your law enforcement career is done. And that's why the cops out there that are good people, good cops, they don't say anything because they think about their families. They think about the fact that they do pay their bills. They put food on the table. They got their kid in a really good school system. And it's like they know they're no longer going to be able to pay, and it's that and the other. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to come home and have an eviction notice on my door every single month because I lost my job for speaking up against police corruption. I know what it's like to get things repoed and have to sell things just to eat. I know what that's like. So I can't really point fingers at the cops that are not speaking up. I understand them. I understand why they're not speaking up. I understand because they know what's going to happen to them if they speak up. They know what the outcome is. It's we're coming for you. We might not get you today, but you now have a target on your back, and we're going to make sure that you're out the door. And when you're out the door, we're going to make sure that you don't get another job at another police department. You understand what I'm saying? It's forget the cops that you're talking against. Forget the fact that they've done some corrupt things. No, you spoke up against it. You supposed to be a part of the blue code. The blue code says, you're all for cops and this, that, you're not supposed to speak up against another cop. It's all nonsense, man, and it's all BS. It's a code that's in place to keep your mouth shut. There was another guy that's an ex-cop, a white officer that used to be part of the Baltimore police. He's on video and he does an interview. And in an interview, he mentions the blue code, and he's really confirms what I'm saying. And he says in there that it's just a code that's in place to keep your mouth shut. It's a code that's in place to make you feel like that you're a part of a brotherhood. It's a false brotherhood. That's all it is. You speak up against something that I just did that I have no business doing. Okay, you know what's going to happen to you. And people think about their lives. They think about their children. They think about it, and they say, you know what? Is it worth it? Is it worth it of me seeming like I'm taking up for a criminal and losing my house? You know what? I'll keep my mouth shut and keep my house. And that's what happens. That's what they think. And I can't blame them for it. I'm not saying that You know, it's obvious that I'm not that one because, like I said, I've lost my job for speaking up against corruption. You know, at a prior department that I worked for, not the current department, the prior department that I worked for. I lost my job for speaking up against racism. I was the number one witness on racism and corruption within that department. You know, and they found a way to push me out the door. So I know what I'm saying, and I know what I'm talking about. That blue code, man, is just it's a false code. It's a false code to live by, and you know, shame on anybody that lives by that code, that turns their back and, you know, don't speak up against the corruption. But like I said, I understand the good cops that are not involved in it, that are not crooked cops, that, you know, they stay silent just to maintain their lifestyle because they know what's going to happen. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm saying I understand. That's what I'm saying. I understand. I know what it's like. They don't want to be another me. They don't want to be in a position that I'm in because they know it's eventually coming. It's only a matter of time.
Wow, that's interesting that you bring that up. I'm curious though with, well, let me point out a couple things first, because I actually did kind of want to go into that. All right, so here in Florida, there was a state trooper, Donna Watts, who had pulled over a Miami police officer who was speeding on the highway or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going at a crazy rate of speed. And
Right.
if I remember the story correctly, she had witnessed that a couple times. So she finally went, not only pulled the guy over, but she arrested him. As a result of arresting another police officer, there were other police officers with the Miami, with his police department that had made threats against her life for actually because she arrested another police officer. There was also a very old story of a New Jersey cop, Richie Roberts, whom supposedly had found like upwards of $1 million in the back of a car or something like that. And because he didn't keep it and he turned it in, that the story was that, cops were looking at him funny and didn't want to back him up, because they feared that, if he was doing the right thing, he may snitch on them. There's another case in Baltimore where there was a police officer who was supposed to testify, I guess, against some corrupt police officers. And up to that point in date, uh, police officers hadn't been killed in the line of duty in in like a decade or something like that. But the day before this officer was supposed to testify, he
Yes.
was murdered.
Yes.
Um, then you have, as you mentioned, you have a situation. I don't know if you want to go into detail about that or whatever. But obviously, it seems, based off of what you said, that you suffer some financial issues and some other struggles based off of losing your job for speaking up against corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have was it Joey Crystal in Baltimore with the Baltimore Police Department. There's a number of cops up in New York, with NYPD that has spoken out that has suffered some backlash as well.
Yes, I've seen that.
Is it potentially dangerous for a police? I mean, it seems like it. Is it potentially dangerous for a good cop to speak up against police corruption and bad cops?
Yes. It's dangerous. Yes. Is it something that I would deter somebody from, even the danger? No, I would not. I didn't deter myself from it. I didn't not say anything, but I understood the danger. I understood the danger, and I was ready for the consequences. I'm still ready for the consequences. I'm ready. I'm ready for that. As a police officer, you're held to a higher standard. You are, like I said, someone that's supposed to be there for the public, and I more so care for the people than a crooked cop. I'm not talking about the good cops out there, and I want to keep making that perfectly clear. I'm talking about the crooked cops. I don't care for you, and I can care less how they feel. I care less for you. There's no reason. I've seen videos to where as though cops have planted drugs on people. I've seen it. You can go on YouTube right now and see those videos. I don't care for those type of cops. I can care less. But yes, there are consequences behind it. I know about the Baltimore situation about the police officer. He was going to testify against local cops. I think he was testify against federal officers as well. You know, and I believe some politicians in a day, one day before he was going to testify, he was murdered. Yes, he was murdered, and I have not heard anything yet about whether they even have caught anybody from that murder. So yes, it's very dangerous. I know about the situation you're talking about. I know about the New York situation. It was more than one officer. It was a couple of officers. I don't think any of them are police officers anymore. If I'm not mistaken. If somebody that can correct me if I'm wrong, then okay, fine. But from my understanding, I don't think that they're police officers anymore. But some of them had recordings of cops being, you know, corrupt. They had recordings of it. You know, so it is a dangerous thing because I can tell you a situation that I've seen. A call came out of a car stop, which led to a foot pursuit and a man with a gun. Um, the officer who actually ended up apprehending the guy, he wasn't the original officer who called out, you know, for pursuit, you know, with the gun and that and the other. But you know, when the call came out, that particular guy, when he was arrested, the gun wasn't on him at the time. It was not on him at the time. They found a gun within the vicinity of the area. After searching the area, they found a gun within the area. One of the officers, both were Caucasian officers. One of the Caucasian officers told the other officer, the guy said, "Well, we can't put this gun on him. I just got to write it up as found property." He said, "Oh no, you're going to put that gun on him." That's what one of the other Caucasian officers said to him. You're going to put that gun on him. Now, here's the thing with that. Here's where your integrity comes in at. Here's where your honor comes in at. Here's where it comes in at on whether you're going to be a good cop or whether you're going to be a bad cop. Are you going to live by the code of blue and do as I say and keep your mouth shut? Now, I'm going to give you my opinion on it. If a call comes out, man, with a gun, I didn't call the call out, but I hear the call. I get to the location. I'm the one who apprehends the guy. I hold him at gunpoint. I place him on the ground. I cuff him up. I pat him down. He doesn't have the gun on him. I say, well, let's search the area just in case he dropped the gun. We don't want a kid finding that gun. We find a gun within, let's say, 10 feet. Okay, what's the odds of us finding a gun underneath a car or an alleyway or on the side, hiding somewhere within 10 feet of our arrest? And it's not the person that we just arrested. It wasn't his gun. What's the odds of that? There are no odds of that. Common sense says 9 times out of 10, that gun is his. But because I'm a good police officer, all I can do is lock him up for whatever we're locking him up for, place the and turn in the gun, and let the courts, sort it out. But my report should not say that I found that gun on his possession. I did not find that gun on his possession. I found that gun within 10 feet of our arrest. The call did come out that the officer saw him running with a gun. That officer saw him running with a gun. And that officer will have to testify that he saw him running with the gun. But I'm also going to have to testify to, listen, I didn't find his gun on him. I found it within the area that we locked him up, but I didn't find it on him. I got the guy off the street. I got the gun off the street. Job well done. Now, if I don't, let's say somebody tells me, no. Say you found it on him. And I say no. Oh, now I'm not a part of the code of blue. Now I'm not, I'm more for the criminal than I am the cops. I'm still locking the guy up and I'm still turning the gun in, getting the gun off the street. But because I didn't do it the way that they wanted me to do it, now I got my eye on you. You got a target on your back. They'll do stuff like not back you up. You can call out backup. They won't back you up. Or they'll take their time getting there purposely because they don't want to back you up because you've proven you're not a part of the police so-called quote-unquote brotherhood. I've seen that happen. It has happened to me. I'm not speaking from somebody else's experience. I'm speaking from my own experience. It has happened to me. I have cops that will totally change their demeanor or change the way they do stuff when I come on location, because they know that I'm not going to allow them to do certain things. I've stopped cops from doing certain things, and they look at me like, what's your problem? They didn't come up to me and say, you know what, man, my adrenaline, it was up here. I was caught in the moment. You stopped me from doing something that I, was about to do, that I shouldn't have done, that I should not have done. I thank you. No, they look at me like, oh, what, you for the criminal or you for me? So now they put a target on my back. And it's sad, man. It's really, really sad. Nobody's faulting a police officer for their adrenaline to be pumped up. You just went to you got a call for a man with a gun. You don't know whether you was going to make it home or not. We understand. I get it. But if a man is cuffed up, there's no reason to continue to do what you're doing. Situations like that I've seen, that I've seen with my own eyes, is not hearsay. I've seen it with my own eyes. So it's like I said, if you don't do certain things, it's like, okay, now, yeah, you got a target on your back. And that could be dangerous. If you have no backup, that's dangerous. So now you put yourself in a position where you had no backup because you wasn't doing what all the other cops, wanted you to do. It seemed like you was more for the criminal than a cop, when that's not true. Now, if you are the person that does something like you and all the other cops on location all did something, and you just so happens, all right, I'm for the brothers in blue, I'm for everything blue, and let me go ahead and agree. Turns out this guy, when he gets out of jail, he files a complaint at Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs pulls the arrest record and pulls this guy's complaint and takes this guy's complaint. Those same cops that you thought you was joining in on or taking up for, or your brothers, are the same cops that will throw you underneath the bus. I've seen it, man. So is it really worth it? Is it really worth taking up for crooked cops? Is it really worth it? Because they're going to keep their jobs and you're going to lose yours. Is it really worth it? There's a movie out that is truth in this movie. It came out in the 90s. Ice Cube is in the movie. It's called The Glass Shield. It's a movie called The Glass Shield. Ice Cube is with his girlfriend, and he's riding in a car with his girlfriend, right? And a cop pulls him over, or whatever the case may be. Ice Cube has a gun in a car, just that and the other. It was his girlfriend's father's gun, or something like that. Well, the cop actually pulled him over because he was black. That's what it was. He saw him late night driving a car with his girlfriend. He pulled him over because he was black. A black officer was the one who backed up the white officer. So the white officer says to the black officer basically like, okay, listen, man, about that job when I pulled that cop over. Oh yeah, basically like, internal affairs lawyers are asking about that. The black cop says, all right, well, don't worry about it, man. I'll just write in my report that he ran some red lights or something. I have no sympathy for low life scum. That was his words. I have no sympathy for low life scum. And why did they do that? Because he was taken up for the brothers in blue. At the end of the movie, that same cop that he was so-called taken up for, that he was lying for, was the same cop that ratted the black guy out. That black cop lost his job. The white guys that were all races in the movie kept their jobs. And I want people to watch that movie because it's things like that really go on in police work. It really happens. It does. So I don't live by that code of blue. I live by the good police officers. If you're a good man, you're a good woman, you're a good police officer, fine, good. I'm with you. I rock with you. I love you. The ones that are crooked and corrupt, you are crooked and corrupt, and I'm going to call you out at all times. It's my duty as a man, as a police officer, for the public, for the people. If you don't like it, then don't be corrupt. If you don't like it, then turn in your uniform. Point blank and simple. And I mean that, even if it means my life. If it means I'm going to lose my life, that's how passionate I feel about it. If you're corrupt, I do not care for you. Simple as that.
So in regards to, wow, a lot came out of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in. I
So
know. I know.
so what does that say about the leadership in law enforcement? If all of this corruption is going on, if this blue wall, this
Right.
thin blue line thing is going on, and
Mm-hmm.
all of this corruption is going on, what does that say about leadership in law enforcement? Because I know from my time in the military, our leadership has to have accountability for every leader under them and for every soldier that serves under them. And I mean, it's not a perfect system, but everybody knew everything. Everyone in our
Right.
unit, and sometimes even expanded out into battalion, knew everybody's dirt. And yeah, it's kind of messed up, but
Right.
usually there's consequences that come with that. And if leadership was squared away, problems were dealt with there being potential threats against cops. Obviously, certain cases where cops' lives have been threatened or even taken, and to
Mm-hmm.
where I'm assuming it's the leadership that would take your job from you if you're the good cop. What does that say about police leadership, law enforcement leadership, when this corruption is allowed and covered up, and good cops are afraid to speak up? What does that say about leadership?
Question answer to that. They're a part of it. There have been supervisors that have spoken up against police corruption. There have been supervisors that have spoken up, and their higher ups made sure that they were fired, or their higher ups made sure that they're they were suspended, and they messed with their careers. There have been supervisors that have spoken up against police corruption, and they had to suffer for it. The ones that is like, wow, how is this allowed? How is this officer, this regular officer, allowed to do this, that, and the other? Because the higher ups allow it. The higher ups are for it. They're in on it, and that's just facts. I dare a police officer to challenge me on that. I dare for any law enforcement officer. I don't care whether you're fed or whether I dare a lawyer or a judge or anybody, challenge me on that. Challenge me on that, and we'll get deeper into the conversation, because there's more. There's so much police corruption and corruption within the courts that people don't even know about.
Wow.
There's so much corruption, and I'm not speaking from something that I've heard from the next person. I'm speaking from experience on what happened to me. I had to find out that there's corruption within the courts, within lawyers and judges and politicians. Yes, there's corruption. Yes. So when the question is, if somebody were to ask, how are the officers getting away with this, or why is that allowed, and what are the supervisors doing that are allowing this? You got the supervisors that are allowing it, that are in on it, and you got the supervisors that are going to speak up against it, and they're going to get the same treatment that I got. You're fired. You're done. They're going to find a way to throw you out the door. They're going to find a way to push you out the door. And that's facts, man. It's
Okay.
it's very sad,
So
but it's facts.
yeah, it's kind of messed up. It's not kind of messed up. It's
No,
really
it's not
messed up.
kind of. It is messed up. It's sad.
Yeah, it's really messed up.
Right.
Um, all right. So a couple minutes ago, you brought up, since we're on the topic of police corruption, a couple minutes ago, you brought up a situation about a foot chase and, the subject dropping a gun.
Mm,
And an officer would have to make a moral decision of, either making the arrest and then just, taking the gun off the street, or planting the gun on that person.
mm,
Throughout the African American community and even Latino community, for years there have been claims of evidence being planted on people. Or what was it? Not too long ago, I think there was I want to say it was a Baltimore cop. I'm not sure, that caught
mm.
himself on camera uh, uh, planting evidence. Are you aware of evidence being planted on people, or is that something that takes place, or is this one, because there are a lot of people now when those arguments come up, there are a lot of people who are let's say for the blue,
Mm.
support the blue. I think that's the movement that will sit here and claim that cops don't plant evidence, or that a lot of the accusations that people are making
Mm.
is because they're criminals and they're just trying to cover themselves or whatever. Does this take place? Are you aware of anything like that, or
I've
is it a figment of
I've
people's
I've
imagination?
had that experience when like I said, that was a cop explained to me what happened on that particular call when a Caucasian cop tried to get another Caucasian cop to put the gun on the guy, like to put in his report that he found it on him. I don't know the outcome of it. I believe that from my understanding, coming from the other officers there, that the guy said, no, I'm not doing that. And that was that. And actually, that cop that I'm talking about that said he wasn't going to do it, he was then now not a part of the clique. He was then now not a part of and he's still to this day not a part of them. So kudos to him. Big ups. To him, much respect. As far as any other situations, no. Police officers don't do certain things around me. That want to do certain things. No, they know to act right around me because I am not the cop that's going to stand there and let you be corrupt. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I will lose my life right then and there if we get into whatever we got to get into. My life, I'm willing to lose my life. So I don't care whether he's a criminal or not. You did your job. You locked him up. Good job. But to be corrupt within that lockup, no. No, you're not doing that to me. You're not gonna have me down at internal affairs, treat me like I'm a criminal, like I did something wrong. No, you're not doing that. I live with honor and integrity. That uniform means something to me. So no, you're not gonna do that. Now, as far as other situations that I've seen, there was that was it North Carolina or South Carolina? The guy is caught on video shooting a guy like 8 times in the back.
Yeah,
He
I've seen that.
the guy ran the black guy ran away from him. He shoots him like 8 times in the back. Somebody's recording it on their cell phone. He shoots him like 8 times in the back, and he walks up to the body or whatever. He runs back. You see him on video. He runs back, picks up his taser, comes back to the body, and you see him drop the taser next to the body. And he tells the cops, well, he took my taser from me. Now that particular cop did get locked up. But you can't say that these things don't go on when there's a video to show you that these things go on. There was another video that I saw on YouTube. A guy is recording the cops, and the cops don't know. They don't know that they're being recorded. And they're at his vehicle. And he's saying, you see, look at them. They're at my car. What are they doing at my car? Why are they at my vehicle? What are they doing? You see the cop, it put something in the car. You see that. And the guy goes basically like, is he putting something in my car? Do y'all not see what I'm seeing basically? So then he goes, yo, what you doing in my car? The cop jumps. You can see oh, damn, I'm caught. He jumps and then walks up to the guy. Let me see your ID. Let me see. The guy's like, for what? You need to see my ID for? Which because you're caught? Because I caught you. Now you think you have the authority to ask me for my ID. Why? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I caught you trying to plant something in my car. He was caught red-handed, plain sight, clear as day. There's another video out. These cops were like in a yard, and one of the cops' cameras is on, and you see them planting like drugs, and you see them planting drugs right then and there. I don't think they because obviously they didn't know that the camera was on. There's another video out of a guy that gets pulled over. A cop holds up like is a bag of heroin or a bag of cocaine, one or the other. He puts it in the guy's wallet, and then shows the other cops like, look what I found. Look what I found. The camera showed that he put it in there, and that case was actually thrown out because they showed that the cop. Now I don't know what happened to the cop afterwards, but even in police work, they do stuff like, okay, you're fired, but I'm gonna let you take your pension. Why? Why does a cop like that get fired and you're allowed to keep your pension? Why? Why?
Good
Can
question.
somebody explain that to me? You was about to send an innocent man in jail. Why? So you can get court time? So you get some overtime? So you can beat some numbers? You was about to ruin that man's life and you still get your pension? Nah, man. No, no, I'm not for that, and I'm not with that. That don't fit right with me, and it never will. It never will. It will never fit right with me. Those are the type of people that need to go. Like I said, I'm all for the good cops, and I will repeat that over and over and over again. There are some outstanding officers out there that really go above and beyond for people, man. I've seen police officers buy people clothes. I've done it. I've bought in a trunk load of clothes and stopped off where I know a bunch of homeless people at and giving it to them. And there's other officers that do stuff like this on a day-to-day basis. So I've seen it. There are so many good officers out there, and those are the ones that I love. But for the ones that are crooked, I ain't got nothing to say to you. I was pulled over one time, right? And this particular officer pulled me over. And when he pulled me over, I told him that I was a cop and everything like that. And it was like he kept agitating the situation. Well, it seemed like to me you're upset that I pulled you over. I said, I'm not upset that you pulled me over. I'm on my way home from work. I actually live right around the corner. You have my license. You have my registration. I showed you my badge. You know I live right around the corner because look at the address on the license. We're right around the corner from where I live at. I'm on my way home from work. I was listening to my music and you pulled me over. What? Oh, okay. Well, I was just doing my job. I said, did I have a problem with you doing your job? Did I say to you that you wasn't doing your job? Did I say to you that I had a problem with you pulling me over? No, I did not. Oh, okay. Well, I was just letting you know that I did my job. Do you do? Okay. All right. I said, all right. Well, man, you got my information. You can go do whatever you want with my information. Did he give my information right back to me, knowing that I was a cop? No, he wouldn't have ran my information anyway. Came back to my car. Do you have a gun on you? I said, yes, I have a firearm on me. I just got off of work. I'm on my way home. I said, I am a police officer. I am entitled to carry a firearm. And even if I'm not a police officer, isn't it my right to bear arms? As long as I'm bearing arms legally? Isn't that not my right? Well, man, why are you being sarcastic? I said, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just letting you know that if I'm a police, even if I wasn't a police officer and I showed you identification that I have a firearm, you know that I have a firearm on you because I told him that I had my firearm on me, and I told him where it was. It's on my hip, on my right side. He comes back to the car and asks me, "Oh, so you do have a firearm on you?" Yes, I do have a firearm. Oh, I just want to know for my safety. Well, I told you that already. Oh, wait. Why are you getting upset? Oh, what's going on? That was a police officer that wanted to get me very, very upset so that he can escalate the situation and do whatever he wanted to do. He was actually upset and pissed off that he was dealing with another cop that knew the law, that knew the system. I know my rights. He kept coming back and forth to the vehicle, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, okay, I'm just checking up on you. Okay, fine. What do you mean, fine? You seem like you upset that I stopped you. I said, look, man, you do what you got to do. I live right around the corner. I'm gonna go home and get me some rest. I just got off of work. Comes back to the car. Haven't I seen you before? No, you have not seen me before. Haven't I pulled you over before? No, you have not pulled me over before. Ended up giving me back my identification, and I pulled off and went home. Just pulled off and went home. And that's the type of person right there that you're dealing with somebody that knows the law. You're dealing with somebody that knows his rights. And I can respectfully recite my rights among the laws and all of that. It's like, it bothers you that I know my rights and I know my law. It bothers you? Really? I'm not saying that he didn't have a right to pull me over. Matter of fact, I can tell you why he pulled me over. I won't hide it. School zone is 15 miles per hour. He clocked me in at doing 26 miles per hour. Now, if I was doing 50 in a school zone, I can see you pulling me over. You pulled me over doing 26 miles per hour in a school zone. Okay. If that's your job and if that's what makes you feel like that you are doing your good job as a police officer, by all means, whatever. But once you have saw that I have my license, I got my registration, I got my insurance, and on top of that, I am a cop as well. and you still treated me the way you treated me, but yet you want me to feel like that I'm part of a brotherhood. You want me to feel like that I'm part of a blue code? No, to you, I'm just a black man with a badge. Without that badge, I would be something different than a black man. I would be, other words that I'm not going to say. That's all that is, man.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna actually ask you about that. Like, have you just, being a black man yourself, had any experience, negative experiences with law enforcement?
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. That wasn't the only negative experience, but yes, absolutely. There have been black officers that have called us strange fruits, that has called us the N-word, that have called Hispanics, racial slurs. There have been white officers that have called, and if any, because there are black people out there that don't know the history of strange fruits. They don't know that term. They don't know that saying. And for anybody that's going to watch this, that's going to see this, what I want them to do, I want them to Google strange fruits from the poplar trees. What happened was, of course, we know that there was a point of time where we had lynchings in this country. Black people were being hung. That's what a lynching is. And for people that don't know, I don't. It'd be shocking if you don't know that. But a poem was written, and a poem was called "Strange Fruits from the Popular Trees." This poem was a poem that was written to talk about in poem form the lynchings that was going on in this country. Well, that poem was turned into a song in song form in like the 1930s or something like that, and it was performed by Billie Holiday. Performed that at a club in New York. Strange fruits from the popular trees. Well, there has been instances to where the officers have called us strange fruits. So if you have a white officer that's calling black people strange fruits, what is he actually saying? He's saying that he either wants to he himself wants to lynch you, or he feels as though that you deserve to be lynched because it's a lynching term. It is a lynching term. And this is not something that I heard or and didn't speak up against. It's one of the things that when I said I served as a witness on racial discrimination as corruption, it's one of the things that I spoke about. It's one of the things that I was spoke about, and I was kicked out the door for it. I wasn't praised for it. I was kicked out the door for it.
what happened to those officers that said that?
They're still police officers. Still, still police officers, man.
Okay, so now we're going into a whole nother. Well, I guess we kind of sort of been going in that direction, but I guess we can definitely touch on racial issues with law enforcement. So racial profiling has been a thing for some time. At least for those who experienced it. I guess before I really start digging into that, what are your views on racial profiling, or does it exist?
It absolutely exists. Um, you do have people. You do have people that will stop people because of the color of their skin. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. It has it happened in front of me. I've actually asked, why did you stop this person? And it would be a absolute dumb reason. Can they articulate it legally? Yes. If somebody's panhandling outside, okay, you pet stopped this guy before. You don't have to keep continuing to do it. I'm not arguing the first one or two pet stops. I'm not arguing that. But just your pet stopping the same guy over and over and over and over and over again. You can move them along. Just move them along. You understand what I'm saying? Racial profiling exists. There was are you talking about like the stop and frisk type thing?
Well, I did want to bring that up,
Oh wow,
but
okay.
yeah, because I do know that there were some incidences, where myself has been stopped
Mm-hmm.
without just cause. One
Mm-hmm.
particular case was in Alabama, I was driving down an Alabama road. I just so happened to, and I knew where I was. So I was driving, about 3 miles under the speed limit with the cruise mode on in the
Mm-hmm.
slow lane. And my mistake was that I had my arm out the window. And when I drove past some cops, I was like, okay, yeah, I probably should have had my window up, so on and so forth. And next thing you know,
Okay.
regardless of all the vehicles that sped by me, um, I was followed for about 4 miles before I finally was pulled over and was like, okay, which I don't know if the viewers who will be watching this video actually know my background or anything like that, but I also have law enforcement training as well, and I knew what a pretext stop is. I knew that they had to look for a reason to pull me over when they didn't, because the reason that they gave me was that my license plate had the frame around it, which that was not something that they could see from the position where they were at until they
Right.
followed me. So there was a reason
Right.
that they had to
Right.
follow me for 4 miles. Well, I've
Right.
made this argument with associates of mine, and some of those associates are that we support the blue, so on and so forth, and they're always able to come up with an excuse for this. That wasn't racial profiling. You shouldn't have been doing this. You shouldn't have been doing that. You look suspicious, whatever.
Right.
Um, and I've had other incidences as well, but I wanted to bring that up because of those individuals who do argue that racial profiling doesn't exist, or it's our fault somehow. I wanted to know what your views was on that, and then I definitely wanted to step into like stop and frisks. So I guess you can touch on why or how racial profiling exists, and then we can go into your views on stop and frisks.
Like I said, racial profiling it does exist. You can look at the numbers of police work. I know that it exists. I've been stopped myself. I'm not talking about something somebody else has been through. I've been stopped myself. I've been stopped by just walking down the street. I wasn't doing anything. I was just walking down the street, walking home. And I've been stopped. This was before I was a police officer, but I've experienced that. I was on my way home from work. I worked a late night job. I was on my way home from work, and I was walking in the street. And the reason why I was walking not in the middle of the street, I was walking, like just in the street where the lighting was. It was late at night on the sidewalk. There is no lighting. So if something was to happen, can't nobody see that in the lighting. So I walked just a little bit in the street, walking down the street, walking home. A cop pulled me over. Oh, I just saw you walking down the street. Okay, was there a crime in that? Well, I live right around the corner. So yeah, it exists, man. And there's other situations that I definitely know, like I can bring up. It's like, okay, did you stop that guy to say that you're accumulating pet stops? Like, what was that for? What was that stop for? That was a nonsense stop. Like, you didn't have to stop him for that. Now, if you want, you mentioned the stop and frisk thing, right?
Yeah. What are your views
Now,
or opinions on stop and frisk?
my opinion on the stop and frisk thing. Um, I can look at both sides of the playing field. If a department has a certain amount of crime numbers and a stop and frisk thing, is now in play, and your numbers drop, okay, I can understand that. I can understand if you had a stop and frisk thing to honestly deter crime. What I don't understand is that when you look at the stop and frisk numbers, 85% of them are all Black and Hispanics, is all minorities. Explain that to me. Can anybody
Okay.
call me and explain that to me? I'll wait for that call. Why is it that
And I've actually
85% of the people, and then they say, well, it's the areas that we patrol and this, that, and the other. Okay, there are cops that patrol, suburban areas. Why aren't they doing stop and frisks in suburban areas? Because if they stop somebody's kid that's a judge, they stop somebody's kid that's a lawyer or know a judge, and now they got something to answer for. Or is it because they think that all Black and Hispanics are criminals? Is that what they think? If you look at the stop and frisk numbers, I can, like I said, I can understand if numbers is I can understand somebody saying, well, let's put a stop and frisk thing in it. Because now people that are criminals that I'm not taking up for, that I will never take up for, they say to themselves, look, we gotta leave our guns at home. We gotta leave our drugs in the house. Okay, I understand that. But like I said, when you do run the numbers, 85% of them, of the stop and frisk, 85% of them is Black and Hispanic. So then it becomes a question. Are you stopping and frisking to deter crime? Or are you stopping and frisking to keep the prison system going? Because the prison system is big business. Don't worry, I'll wait for somebody to answer that question. And if they're stopping to deter crime, you can't tell me that there's no crime that goes on in the so-called quote-unquote better areas, the suburban areas. If you look at that video of the ex-Baltimore cop, he says something in the video that everybody should pay attention to. He said, we only attacked the Black and Hispanic areas. We only attacked the areas of minorities. He admitted it. He said in the video, I'm telling you this. We only attacked those areas. So it's like I said, man, it's a give and take, like I said, the stop and frisk thing, I understand why they may have done it, but did you really give officers a permission to now stop somebody for no reason? Is that what you really did? It goes back to that thing when I said, the person that's calling the cops on somebody Black because they saw them in a building that they actually live in, that type of energy and that type of personality is not just somebody who sits behind a desk. That type of personality is in law enforcement as well. So if you implement a stop and frisk on that type of personality, then who are they going to be stopping at all times?
Which brings up another good point. two actually. All right, so there were a couple of those videos that I've seen myself of people calling the police because of a Black person living in a building or visiting a building or whatever.
Right.
One of those situations was there was a Black gentleman who was there, I guess, visiting a friend. His friend hadn't arrived yet, and the father was there with the son in front of the door and said that the Black guy was about to piggyback into the building, so he wanted to stand there and call the police on this gentleman.
Right.
And obviously in the media, there's been a big deal about people calling the police on Black people for crazy reasons or whatever.
Right.
And I thought to myself, if you thought that this guy was such a danger, why are you standing in front of this gentleman with your son?
Exactly.
Then there was another issue where a Black gentleman, I think he had just moved into the building or something like that, and he got off the elevator or something, and there was
and the woman
white
followed
woman.
him.
Exactly, and she followed him to his door. If you felt that this guy was a threat, why would you follow him, especially being a woman? Not saying that women can't take care of themselves or anything like that, but why would you follow him to a location that's unknown to you?
I can touch bases on that.
Good.
Well, some people ask me about the situation, both. Well, people ask me about both situations actually when they occurred. And I've actually read comments on the videos of both situations, whatever the case may be. One of the situations with the guy with the son, somebody has said in the comments in the video section, it said this guy's father was just assaulted or something just happened to this guy's father, violently. So that guy was just being safe, and he just wanted to know who this guy was because he's traumatized about what just happened to his father and this, that, and the other. And and that guy, it said he was afraid of just his surroundings and who this gentleman actually was. He wanted to question it. If I'm afraid, I'm not going to stand in front of you and prevent you from going in the building. That don't take fear. That's not fear. Fear is not, I'm going to prevent you from getting into this building. And I'm going to stand here with my son because I'm afraid of who you are. That's not fear. That's racism. That's racism. Anybody that wants to challenge that, call me. That's racism. That situation with the woman, that that guy lived in that building. He lived in that building. That lady got on the elevator with him and followed him to his front door. How can she say she was afraid of the guy, or she just wanted to know who he was? He looked suspicious. You follow a suspicious male. You didn't run into your apartment or leave the building and call from outside. You followed this man. That's not fear. That's not fear.
Now that you put it that way, I definitely want to touch on that again, because that just took me back to a previous case that I know a lot of us are familiar with George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin,
Yes.
where the gentleman followed
Yes.
Trayvon to wherever, and then whatever unfolded led to the death of Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
Now that you brought that up, it almost makes sense that, you know, and I'm not trying to instill fear or anything like that, but it could almost make sense that there could be some black people afraid of these white people, you know, or whomever that's calling the cops on them because of situations like that. It has led to deadly force in the past.
Possible. Yes.
And then just putting pieces together. I'm sorry, like I said, you know, as we're talking, some of this stuff is coming together.
Right.
The previous comment that you made was that these are the same type of people that are becoming police officers.
Yes. The personality is what I'm saying. The
Right,
personality
right.
of somebody that's going to call the cops on somebody that's at a swimming pool, swimming with their children. You know that type of personality. What people have to understand is, you don't only get that type of person that works at a desk, no, that type of personality is in law enforcement as well, and people need to know that. They need to understand that. They need to know that type of energy level, that type of spirit. That, you know what? Oh, there's a black person at a swimming pool. What are they doing here? Okay, maybe they're doing what you're doing there. They're swimming.
Thanks for our
That type
question
of
as well.
attitude, that type of personality becomes police officers as well.
So is it possible? Obviously, you're not present to witness every police shooting across America.
Right.
Is it possible that if that personality is finding its way into law enforcement, and having seen the George Zimmerman case, you know, with how he dealt with Trayvon Martin, is it possible that that kind of personality leads to the deaths of unarmed people, whether it be
Yes.
African American, whites, or whomever?
Yes. It's facts. It's facts because there, like I said, there are videos out when the person actually was able, he didn't die right away, or he was able to utter the words, "Why did you shoot me?" And the officer says to him, "I don't know." Are you that afraid of black people that you're going to shoot them and not know why? You don't need to be a cop. Turn in your uniform.
Yeah, fear is what I'm wanting to touch on. I'm just trying to build my questions right.
If you're that afraid, you don't need to be a cop.
Okay,
Fear
so
and caution is two different things. When you're a police officer and I don't care what call you go on. I don't care what call it is. You're supposed to be cautious because you don't know. The smallest call can turn so big. It has happened several times. It happens every single day. It is a part of the job. So you're supposed to be cautious. But if you're that afraid that when someone asks you, "Why did you shoot me?" and your response is, "I don't know," you don't need to be a cop. I don't care if there's people out there who disagree with me about that. I don't care if he made an honest human mistake. No, you don't need to be a cop.
So let's talk about fear and law enforcement, because justification for killing somebody seems to be, I was afraid for my life, or something to that nature. I was
Right,
afraid for
right.
my
I'm
life.
glad you
There's
asked
a
that.
lot of cases. Yeah, there's a lot of cases where I've seen it, and was like, let me back up. There's been a lot of cases with different officers, things that I've seen working with different cops. Having been out there, working out there myself, where I have witnessed there are cops who can't handle themselves in a street fight, even though defensive tactics is taught in police academy and in service training. There
Hmm.
are cops that can't handle themselves in street fights, and I'm not trying to talk bad because it's not all cops. I know some cops out there that can throw hands. I've seen female cops out here tear off and whoop up on some of these suspects out here, and I've seen male
Yes,
cops who were very, very quick to revert to their firearms and draw their guns,
yes,
which is
yes.
another concern of mine, because I know even when I've worked out there have been times when, okay, if your hands aren't enough, you got to revert to your OC spray, or you got to revert to your taser, or you got to revert to your baton, or even your mag light if you still carry them. But there seems to be this issue where certain cops get into a scuffle and they're resorting to deadly force almost instantly. They're skipping over
The force continuum.
exactly.
Yes.
And even in some cases, there are cops that escalate the situation. And again, this isn't all cops, because there are professional cops out there, but there are those cops that'll run up on you and have that negative attitude that's amping the situation up into a fight. Next thing you know, you're in a fight, and the officer shot that person, but they were in fear for their life.
Right.
My personal concern, and I don't even know if I can ask you this, because this has to do with the hiring process,
Hmm.
and I think I asked the question earlier about it. How do you hire somebody and keep someone employed who's afraid to get into an altercation when that's a part of their job? How do you have individuals who can't handle themselves out here that are expected to deal with some of the most dangerous situations? Um, I don't know if I'm asking the right questions. Do you understand where I'm going with this, or
Keep
do I need
going.
to?
Keep going.
Okay, yeah, because just my opinion. If you can't
Right.
handle yourself in a fight, and if your hand-to-hand training isn't sufficient, it's just my opinion, you shouldn't be out there, because that makes you a greater threat to elevate to deadly force.
Well,
Again, that's my opinion.
now, and
Go
I,
ahead.
I understand I understand where you're coming from, but like I said before, there's nothing from my knowledge that's in play to know that he or she can't handle himself before you hire him. You know, if you just look at somebody and say, "Well, you can't handle yourself," that's false judgment. You can't say
Mm-hmm.
that. Now you're discriminating against them on a hiring process. You have to go through your training. You don't find out who a cop is until you've worked with them on a call, and you've seen it. You've heard through other officers, how that they can't handle themselves. That type of conversation does not come up for nothing. That type of conversation does not come up because officers want to pick on another officer. That type of conversation comes up because it's true. This officer can't handle himself. He doesn't know. He's afraid. He's scared. He's scared. He's scared of the patrol. Now, what happens from there? Like I said, there's nothing in play to prove that beforehand. But once it's proven, uh, in your opinion, once it's proven in other officers' opinion, I'm not a supervisor. I'm not human resources. I'm not the one that's going to say, okay, you can't handle yourself. You lost your job. Or you can't handle yourself. Maybe we need to send you to other training. I'm not a supervisor. I can't make that call. Should there be something in play to maybe send them off on extra training? Yes. If it's seen that, okay, you can't handle yourself, or if it's seen that you escalated that situation, You want straight to deadly force. You want straight to pulling your gun. There are training sessions that are in play to send that officer to training. Some of them are called sensitivity training. Things like that. There are other things that are in play to send off. Now, rather that commander sends that officer to training, that's neither here nor there. It's up for that commander to do so. But yes, I've seen videos that I've said to myself, why does he have his gun out? Why is he pointing his gun at him? What over a conversation? I've seen people that have been, just talking to officer. Why you got your gun out? I've said it to myself. I've said that to myself. So like I said, there's nothing in play for the hiring process. You later find that out later on down the line. And it's sad to say that, but like I said, that's just facts, man.
Well, I really would love to touch on that more. I don't have the questions prepared for that. But
That's fine.
one of your points was that you can't determine that in the hiring process because that's discrimination during
Right.
the hiring process.
Right.
I'm gonna present some information to you, and then I want your opinion. If there is discrimination in the hiring process or not.
Okay.
All right. So I'm aware that in the hiring process of many law enforcement agencies across the U.S., there are questions regarding drug use, and which is kind of interesting now that things are changing a little bit in regards to drug laws. But there are policies and procedure, policies in place that says, okay, if you have done a certain kind of drug within your lifetime, you are disqualified from law enforcement.
Right.
One of those drugs that I've noticed over and over and over again on a lot of these questionnaires is crack cocaine.
Okay.
Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not. Crack cocaine is predominantly in lower income areas, which is mainly populated by minorities. Not to say that there aren't, Caucasians on crack cocaine. I know of quite a few who are, but
Right.
crack cocaine is in those areas. I've
Right.
seen
Right.
where LSD, PCP, you can have taken those drugs during your lifetime. And as long as a certain number of years have gone by, you are still potentially eligible for hire. And I don't know how things are now in regards to LSD, PCP, so on and so forth. I know when I was coming up, those type of drugs were found in different type of communities. There seems to be different drugs in different type of communities. Cocaine over here with a certain group, crack cocaine over here with this certain group.
Right.
But
Right.
during the hiring process, there are certain drugs that, let's say, this particular group does that doesn't necessarily disqualify them. It is on a case-by-case basis, whereas drugs over here in this particular group definitely disqualifies you. Or, and I've known of this personally as well, where the hiring process says if you have sold drugs at any given time in your lifetime, you are disqualified from being hired in law enforcement, which a lot of people in lower income areas have sold drugs at some point in time in their life. Not saying everybody, but there's a lot of individuals that are there that have done that. And I've
Right.
known individuals from other communities who have done it as well, whom somehow are still able to get hired. Is there discrimination in the hiring process based off of just the information that I've given?
Okay. I think what you're trying to ask me is that something that's in play to X out minorities? Is that what you're
Yes,
asking me?
yes. And not only
I can't.
minorities, but potentially lower class individuals as well. But go ahead.
I can't say that. I can't say that is. I have no evidence of that. I have no facts of that. I have no speculations of that. I've never seen a video or an investigation of it being possible that the reason why a department came up with hiring a hiring process that says you have to write down what drugs that you're doing, primarily so that they don't have to hire minorities. You know, I've never heard of an investigation from that. I've never heard it in my career. So I can't say that that's what it is and that's true. You know, I know that when you become a police officer, you do want to ask questions, as many questions as you possibly can of someone, to try your best to get to know who somebody is before they become a police officer. But I can't say that that's primarily for minorities to X minorities out, because I don't have any facts of that. If it ever came out that that's what it was, would it shock me? No, no, it would not shock me, not one bit. I will not be surprised, not one bit. But as of right now, I cannot say that that's what it is. I have no facts of
Okay.
that. I cannot say that.
And are you aware, or do you have any information or knowledge pertaining to any agencies or policies that are designed, uh, maybe not even policies, in your opinion, are there agencies that don't hire minorities, or hire minorities, like a minimal number of minorities for a specific purpose, like a quota
I'm
or
a
something
victim.
like that?
I'm a victim of that. I'm a victim of that. I was actually at my, not the department that I am at now, the previous department I was at. We were all around talking, and at the time, different departments were hiring at that time. And usually I don't say anything, but at this particular time, I was interested in a certain department, and the reason why I mentioned that department was because I wanted to hear the response of the Caucasian officers on, how they felt about me filling out for that particular department. There was a Caucasian officer that said to me, to my face, "Don't fill out for that department." The chief of police of that department said he'll never hire a black person, he'll never hire a woman. I've met officers after that conversation, because cops always meet cops, and I've actually brought that conversation back up to the officers that I met, and even that officer said, "Yes, that's true, that's true. You're sorry to say it, and sorry that I have to be honest with you about this, but in all honesty, as a black man, you're not getting hired there at that particular department." And no, I'm not going to
And
say the name of that department. I'm not going to say any names, but I'm saying that yes, I've been through that. I've had white officers. I know of situations of a police department to where so they ran an Asian guy out the door. Just ran him out the door. He had to go back to a previous department that he was at. I know a situation of an Hispanic guy that I've met. I've actually met this Hispanic guy on one occasion. I met him prior to him going to the department that he went to. I know people who know him personally. You can call him up, and they've known him for years. And the department that he went to, he ended up saying it was so much racism that went on, and so much that he went to, he ended up going back to his previous department because he couldn't take it anymore. So I do believe that there are some departments out there that will hire minorities just to say that they've hired them, but once you get in, they're going to run you out the door. They're going to do or say certain things that's going, you can't take it no more, and you're gonna end up just leaving.
which brings up more questions. Since we're going down that road,
Mhm.
racism in policing. So I am familiar with, I know at least one agency up in that area, in the area where you work at. Not saying it's your agency or nothing like that, but
Yeah,
where
we
a
don't we
bunch of
don't we
cops
don't
were,
right. We don't have to say no names of which agency it is, but go ahead.
yeah, where a bunch of cops were busted for racist posts online, and I'm not sure if they were terminated or not, but I know they were put on desk duty recently. I want to say it was like upwards of like 72 cops or something. Also, with U.S. Customs Border Patrol, and I'm not sure if ICE agents were a part of it as well, but there was somewhere of upwards of like 10,000 current and former agents in a
Mm-hmm.
private Facebook group that were posting all kinds of racial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're currently under investigation. There was
Mm-hmm.
some more, some other cops down in Texas. I want to say between 3 or 4 different departments that were in this group that were getting busted for being a part of a private racial group or posting racial comments online.
Right.
And a while back, there was a female cop who got, I don't want to say famous, but like internet famous because she posted something online that was racist and she got fired. What are your views? What are your opinions on racism in law enforcement? I mean, obviously, if that's a problem, if that exists in law enforcement, it's going to manifest itself out on the streets. It's going to manifest itself out in who gets arrested, how they're handled, whether or not, excessive force may be used or whatever. What's your take on this? Because I mean, obviously, this is being allowed. Tens of thousands of racist cops getting into law enforcement isn't an accident. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not. During the Bush administration, the FBI actually notified President Bush that there were a bunch of white supremacists that were infiltrating law enforcement. So, and I'm bringing this up because there's always these arguments about cops aren't racist or, people like to throw the race card, so on and so forth. What is your take on this? Because this isn't, a few bad apples. This is a big problem that's being overlooked.
Um, I've heard stories of um police officers being in hate groups. Yes. I've heard that. Um, are they still police officers? That I don't know. I've had speculations. I've thought within myself, but had no facts of it, so I can't say that that person is. But I've thought within myself because of their demeanor and their attitudes and things that they've said that it was possible that that person was a part of a hate group. Like it wouldn't shock me if I found out that that's what it was. But like I said, I had no facts on it. So it's not like I could tell you a story that I know a particular hate group that they're a part of, or I can point you in the right direction or which hate group it is, and I have no facts of it. You just have thoughts of, okay, yeah, it could be possible because their actions, their demeanors, and how they are. Um, and it's back to what I said before. I don't want people thinking that it don't exist. It exists. It's here. Yes, it's alive and it's real. Now, my question is, because sometimes you can answer a question with a question sometimes. So my question would be, what are the politicians doing? The people that are over the police. What are they doing? Do they even care? It's the question you want to ask. Do they even care? What are they doing about it? Because when you see a video of a police officer, shooting an unarmed black man, woman, or child, and they get put on desk duty, well, okay, yeah, okay, you have to investigate it first to see whether he's really guilty of this, that, and the other. But he gets leave with pay, and then he gets his job back. Or you got some people who get fired, and like I said, they're able to take their pension, which could be definitely six figures. Their lump sum of money. They walk away with six figures and is able to get a job someplace else. It's like, what are the politicians doing? How come there's nothing in play to really, implement the corruption? The crooked cops, when they're caught or when they're brought to, how come they're not brought to justice in a certain way? So I really can't blame it all on their commanders at that particular department. I got to more so blame it on people above them. Like I said, which are the politicians? What are they doing? How come they not addressing it? Where are the politicians that when we see these videos of people playing evidence? What politicians want to keep their mouths shut so much so they can, get their grants, their money grants, or gain followers, and gain fans so that somebody can vote for them. Well, don't you think somebody will vote for you if you were a politician trying to stand against police corruption? Don't you think that would gain more votes? As a politician, are you not for the people? If you're against police corruption, doesn't that say that you're for the people? Wouldn't that gain more votes? So it's like, what are you doing? Or do people not even care? That's the question that I always had. Do you not even care? And I'm left to believe, no, they don't. Now, if somebody can prove me wrong, then okay, fine. Fine, prove me wrong. But if you can't, I'm still left to believe that, no, they don't care.
Okay, so in my personal experience, I haven't witnessed or I haven't seen anything in place to weed out said individuals. To your knowledge, in the hiring process, is there anything in place to detect and weed out potential members or supporters of supremacy movements or hate groups? And I ask this because, I know that there are questions, like, have you ever been a part of a gang? Have you ever been affiliated with, a group of friends that wore the same color, so on and so forth.
Right.
Is there anything in place, to your knowledge, that is there to weed out potential members or supporters of hate groups?
No.
In the hiring process?
During the hiring process, no. And even if they are hired, somehow, some way they are hired, and it's found out that they are somehow, some way that they are a part of a hate group. I've never heard of a situation of an officer being fired right away because he was a part of a hate group. Like immediately he was fired, just because of that. I've never heard of that. And in my experiences in law enforcement, there are questions on like a psychological or a hiring process that says, have you ever been a part of a gang? Have you ever been a part of I think one of the one of the questions was, have you ever been a part of a group that your parents didn't agree with? You see what I'm saying? They ask you questions like that in reverse, kind of same question, but kind of in reverse to see whether you're lying or telling the truth. But I've never heard of a question of them actually coming out and saying, "Are you a part of a hate group? Are you a and then gives a list of certain hate groups?" I've never seen that. I've never seen that in law enforcement. I'm not saying that it don't exist. I'm saying that I've never seen it or I've never heard of it.
So, granted, there's already evidence out there that there are individuals in law enforcement, but I'm gonna just speak hypothetically. So let's say those individuals are hired in a law enforcement agency, and they are employed to police a low-income community made up of minorities. And let's say the community is low income enough that these individuals can't afford lawyers for decent defense. Isn't it a conflict of interest to have cops with said biases policing the individuals that they have those biases and prejudices against, where they have the authority to take your freedom, issue fines, or even potentially take your life, as we've spoken in earlier incidences? Isn't there like a conflict of interest or something like that? I mean, there should be like some kind of policies or laws or something like that in place. Is that a conflict of interest, or is that something that should be allowed and is not a big deal?
Every in my opinion, I don't care what your race is, you should be able to patrol and be a police officer in the area of a race that's not yours. It comes with the job. It teaches you how to address different cultures. You actually learn some of that in training on how to address different cultures, because different cultures, you have to address a situation differently. There are some cultures you cannot address the situation the same way. And you learn that. You learn that in the academy. So I'm not going to say that because someone is a different race that they can't patrol the area of a different, race. I'm not going to say that. Do I feel like that you need more black officers in the areas of predominantly Black and Hispanic? Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
I do.
I'm not saying that you should be a different race. What I'm saying is that those individuals who qualify as those, the cops who are a part of hate groups, and employing them and putting them in the communities of the people of whom they have prejudices against.
Right.
Is that
It's a conflict of interest, yes. But the thing with
okay?
that is, you would have to know that they're part of a hate group. You would have to know. Now, if it's something happened to where as though, let's say they're part of a hate group, but you can't stop them from being a cop. Let's just say that's what it is. Then yes, it will be the commander's fault that you have them in an area to where as though you know that they hate those people. And that's just facts. You understand what I'm saying? But like I said, that's something that we would be touching bases on things that I don't have facts on. That would be something that you would have to know. You would have to know for a fact that this officer is yeah, they hate people. They hate this particular amount of person. Why put them in there? Why are they even cops anyway? If you're that much of hate, why are you even a cop anyway? You know what I'm saying? The cops that I know of that have done some things that, yeah, yes, is downright racist. Yes. Why are they still cops? They're able to be a cops, but the one who speaks up against it is not able to have a career that he wants.
Okay.
It's just, and that's where you get to the point to where as though it's just corruption.
Right. And as you said, from the politicians to the commanders who need to detect these things or send them
Yes.
off to better training.
Right.
So,
But then you also have to realize too, though, and let me touch bases on this. When we talk about police work, and if is someone a part of a hate group, you can't talk about just the regular officers. You have to question yourself. If a regular officer is a part of a hate group, let's say that it does exist, then a commander could be a part of a hate group too. That's why it's allowed. They all in it together. It's all a part of corruption. Now, you think hate group are just construction workers? Or just plumbers or electricians or just people. No, there are people that are part of hate groups that are politicians, they are judges, they are lawyers, they are doctors, engineers. They are people who make a lot of money. So is it possible for yes? But you can't say that it's just regular officers. You will have to question the higher ups that allow them to be that way. Why are you a part of the hate group too? And then that's why you allow what you allow. That would be the $1 million question.
absolutely. I'm gonna have to put some kind of project together for that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna touch once more in regards to racism, and then I'm gonna jump off topic to something else that I want to go into because I think that information is necessary for its viewers. All right,
Okay.
so we brought up the courts, the lawyers, the judges, and some cops and potentially some of their leadership. Institutionalized racism, is this, what is your views on that in the criminal justice system?
That's a hard question. Institutionalized racism?
Yeah, we know
Going.
that there are for-profit prisons. We already know based on at least one situation that there was a judge who was sitting there purposely sending off, I think it was youths or
It was black.
to
Yeah,
prison.
he purpose. It was over a course of years. He purposely sent them to yes. Yeah, I know what story you're talking about. Yes.
Right. So and I'm pretty sure that that's not the only judge that's doing that. He's probably just the only one that's got caught. You got the for-profit prisons, which we all know that money is somehow involved in politics with the politicians who are able to put these things in law. And then you have, and it trickles down to the cops on the street who make the arrest, the public defenders maybe, who are defending people who don't have the funds to potentially defend themselves, and then the judges who are prosecuting that. Is
Mm-hmm.
this is our criminal justice system based off of institutionalized racism? You know, could there be changes? Well, obviously, yeah, there could be changes made. But what are your views on that?
I feel like yes, there could be changes made. But you know, you have to realize if you want to touch bases on the topic of racism, you know, that goes since the beginning of time. You know, so you can't talk about just today. That goes way back from when it started and up until now, and that it still does exist. Yes. You know, if you watch videos of that Baltimore cop, or if you watch videos of Jane Elliott, the older Caucasian lady that speaks about what's really going on out here, and other people that are on YouTube videos or doing interviews that are speaking truth. Jane Elliott speaks on how the system is designed to be corrupt. You know, and if
That's
you're
kind of what I was going into. Yeah.
yeah, it's designed to be corrupt. And it was one thing that she said in her video that was just like, wow. It like really like it was like wow. And, you know, she like really and she said it and said it with confidence. She said, if you're white and racist, I mean if you're white and not racist in America, you should have gotten an F in social studies because you clearly was not paying attention.
I
And
remember her saying
she
something
gets
like
into
that.
detail about why she said that in another video, and it says because the system is designed, you know, for that. It's designed to be against us. It's designed for that. I had a judge, and I'm not gonna say any names, but I had a judge tell me, I don't remember his exact words, but he had asked me about a situation, and he said, well, what do you want out of that? I said, justice. I want justice to be served. He laughed. He laughed. He laughed at me. And he said something on the lines of the words of a lawyer asked once said to a judge that he wanted justice, and this was the judge's response. So I don't remember his exact words. I don't remember his exact words. I was just so angry and pissed off that he actually said, like, laughed at me the way that he did. But I'm gonna put it in my own words. Basically, what he was saying was justice. Like for you, really? Come on. And this came from a judge. How many other judges feel the same way? Nobody can call me and tell me that I'm wrong. Nobody can tell me that you cannot. I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from the things that I've seen. I'm speaking from what was done to me. It's certain things that was done to me that I know. So you cannot. We go on. This is facts, man. So it's like we're in a system that is designed to be against us. So what do we do? That's the question. What do we do? Where are the politicians? Where are the civil rights leaders? You know, do we really have any real
Mhm.
civil rights leaders, really strong ones that what's really going on out here? So I don't have all the answers. You know, I can't say that. I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. I wish I did. I wish I had answers to, the problems that exist out here. But there have been several people that have talked about the police brutality. Several celebrities that have spoken up against it, and they've made the good points. They've said out their mouths, "Where are the politicians at? Where are the laws that need to be in play about police corruption? Where are the laws that need to be in play about this? What's going on?" There have been celebrities that have spoken out, against it, and I think they're in the same boat that I'm at. They don't know the answers. That's why they're asking. But
Right.
I'm in the same boat that they're in, that you're in. I'm asking the same questions. What do you do? I've done my part, and I'm going to continue to do my part by being a positive voice and a strong voice and educating the people who feel free to want to be educated about police work and what really goes on. I'm doing my part. I was blackballed for it, and I'm still going to continue to speak up against it because it's my job, it's my duty towards the people that they know. You will never stop me. You will never stop me from speaking up and letting people know what really goes on in police work. You will never stop me. So don't even try. But
And
we're
you both
still left with
agree.
that question. What can we do about it? You know?
All right. So you asked the question, where are the politicians? So I got to ask you your view on something, because
Mm-hmm.
this directly relates to the view of a particular politician and his supporters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you're aware, not long ago, football player Colin Kaepernick took a knee in protest against police brutality, against police corruption, and
Right.
said said politician Donald Trump, went on television and blasted him for it. Hey, he's un-American. You disrespecting cops, you disrespecting our soldiers, you disrespecting our flag.
Right.
As a soldier myself, as a veteran myself, and with many veterans that I've known, and I'm not saying all of them because I do know that there are veterans that didn't support this, but
Mm-hmm.
with many of the veterans that I've known, and even veterans that I didn't personally know that I knew of, supported that movement, partially because it's freedom of speech, freedom of peaceful protest, something that we go to war to fight for. And
Mm-hmm.
then also because as an African American myself, and in some of their cases, or Latino Americans and even white Americans in some of their cases, they realize that there is police corruption, there is unjust situations and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us as veterans have spoken out, not so much the military community, because obviously is against UCMJ to speak badly about the president or his views or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we can do that as veterans at a certain point, but you're not supposed to do it as active serving veterans, active serving service members.
Right. There's consequences behind that.
So huh?
I said there's consequences behind that. I get you.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't know that, which is why a lot of veterans weren't speaking up at the time. But
Right.
a lot of veterans supported that protest. As a cop, because he was a politician, he is a politician, and he was able to rise up his support network. And I don't know if they truly believed it or if that was just their argument to downplay the argument that there are wrong things taking place in law enforcement. What are your views on that? Because you did ask about the politicians. There's one primary politician right now who's out there whose audience is like, you're disrespecting cops, you're disrespecting our troops, you're disrespecting our flag. Our flag, and I apologize, I'm going off on this. Like I said, I'm a veteran. That flag symbolizes what we do for it. What we do for it says that they can do that. And there is no, as angry as it makes me and as angry as it makes other veterans of color and even Caucasian veterans, that there are white supremacist groups marching Nazi flags,
Mm-hmm.
enemy opposition that we have fought over, Nazi flags up and down American streets preaching hate. And those individuals have to be protected by law enforcement at those rallies. That is freedom of speech. We have to respect it. We don't have to like it, but we have to respect it. Then there's these athletes taking a knee, and there are people hating them because they're disrespecting the flag, they're disrespecting the troops, they're anti-cop, against the blue, whatever. As a cop, what is your view on that?
As a cop, that doesn't bother me. As a cop, that doesn't bother me. As a man, I applaud it. I agree. I take a knee with him. And I'm not saying just Colin, Kaepernick. I'll take a knee, period, against the police brutality, not the police department in itself. If anybody do their studies, the man said, I'm not taking a knee against the people who fought for this country. I'm not taking a knee against, that. I respect them. I applaud them. I love that you fought for this country. Cool. I'm taking a knee because nobody else is saying anything about these unarmed people getting shot and killed. Nobody's saying that. Now let's talk about Colin Kaepernick's freedom of speech, because he's supposed to have freedom of speech. We're all supposed to have it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the KKK can march down any street in this country. It is their right to do so. And if you were to do something to them as they're marching down the street, you can be arrested for that because they're exercising their freedom of speech, right? They march down the street with signs and yell out certain things verbally. The man got on one knee and ain't say nothing at all, but being blackballed for it. What's
Which, by
really
the way,
going
was
on out here, man?
suggested by a veteran.
What's really going on out here? And honestly, if you want to get deep into it, I take a knee, not just for the Black and Hispanics. I take a knee for the veterans as well. And let me tell you why. Because there are veterans that go over, fight for our country, come back home, and they're homeless. Why is that? They suffer from PTSD and you didn't get them the proper help. Why is that? They're alcoholics and drug addicts. You didn't get them help. Why is that? But if I take a knee and I'm going against them, no, we're talking about inequality here. It's sad that you got veterans that are sleeping under bridges that fought for this country. I take a knee for that. Now, the very same thing that you're saying I have the right to do is the very same thing that you're demonizing me for. You're saying that I have the right of freedom of speech. You're saying that I have the right to protest because that's freedom of speech. You know, protest is freedom of speech. You're saying that I have the right to do so. My way of exercising my freedom of speech, I'm not going to say nothing at all. I'm just going to take a knee, and you're saying that I'm wrong for it. So which one is it? Do I have freedom of speech or don't I? Which one is it? I'm not disrespecting no one that fought at war. I'm not. He said that he's doing it for the police brutality and inequality of Black people that's going on in this country. I'm tired of it. It's been police brutality this, police brutality that. Nobody is saying nothing to it, but you want me to praise the American flag and this, that, and the other. And then you'll have people that will say, well, why don't he just leave the country? Here and say, why don't he leave the country? Why don't you say, oh, okay, all right, right, okay, maybe he has a point. Why don't we do something about it? Why don't we do something about the police corruption? Why don't we do something about what's going on? You now take your mind off the fact that he said he's doing it for the police corruption and the police brutality. You take your mind off of the police brutality and the corruption, and you put it on. He's doing it. You know, he's disrespecting the troops. You're putting people's mind on that, which takes people's mind off the problem itself. I don't think that man was disrespecting this country. I don't think that man is making millions right now in this country. I don't think that he's disrespecting this country. He made a stand against what more people should make a stand against, and that's facts. But that just further goes to show that I was right when I said earlier in the video, when you make a righteous stance, there's consequences behind that. There's consequences behind that. And he was brave enough to accept those consequences. I remember in high school, right? The story of Muhammad Ali. When Muhammad Ali was ordered to go to the military, and he said, I refuse to, it's against my religion. It's you know the story of that. And I refuse to go why I go over there and fight, them. They ain't never did nothing to me. You want me to go over there and fight this country, but you won't fight for me right here in the country that I live. You know the story, you know the things that he said. And I remember in high school, there was a teacher in high school that said Muhammad Ali is a sellout. How dare you not go fight for this country? How dare you not do so? When Muhammad Ali died, he was labeled as a hero. He was labeled as the best boxer, that of all time, not because of what just he did in the ring, because of what he did out of the ring, because of the stand that he had made. Yeah, he made a righteous stand. Yeah, it almost cost him his career, but he made that stand for righteousness. He did it. And he was labeled as a hero. So you're going to have people that are going to run their mouths about somebody making a stand, and they're going to blackball them. But you know what? We need more people out here to make a righteous stand like that. And what Colin did does not bother me. I salute the brother. If he did it for righteousness, I salute you. But my question is not what he did. My question is, where are the people that's going to back him up on it? Where are the people that's going to make the same stand? That's my question.
I'm trying not to get triggered because I actually wanted to respond myself. No, I'm gonna respond. I apologize. I know this is supposed to be an interview, but I'm gonna touch on that because I feel a certain kind of way, and then I'm gonna move on.
Right.
Because this video will be posted. It will be public,
Okay.
and there are going to be people who express their views, and there are going to be those individuals that are like, oh, you're a coward because you didn't fight for your country. And I
Okay.
know this for a fact.
Okay.
No, I don't have nothing against what you said. What I'm saying is
Right.
that there are those individuals that like to make that argument about, oh, how someone's a coward because they didn't fight for their country, so on and so forth. And there's plenty of these people who are afraid to sign up themselves, afraid to go, fight for their country themselves, but they're quick to belittle somebody else because they decided not to. With that
Right.
said, I'm moving on before I really start going off a little bit.
Right. We can move.
All
We
right,
can move
so
forward with that. Yes.
yeah, we're gonna move forward.
Right.
All right,
Right.
so we touched on rights, freedom of speech, freedom of peaceful protest. It is important for an individual to know their rights. So, what's the deal with people have a right to record police officers in action with their
Yes.
video cameras, with their cell phones.
Yes.
They have a right to know why they're being pulled over or why they're being
Yes.
stopped,
Yes.
and that's before even issuing their identification, which a lot of people don't know that. What is this big deal with cops not wanting to give their badge numbers and not wanting to be recorded? There have been incidences where cops have taken people's cameras from them or slapped the camera out of their hand or whatever, or arrested
Right.
people or at least detained them because they were recording that situation. What's going on
Right.
with that? Or your
Okay.
opinion?
With that, everybody has the right to record. It ties into your freedom of speech. Now there are certain areas you cannot record at. There are certain like public buildings, certain areas that you cannot record within that building. But you can record outside the building. If a police officer is doing something, is on a stop, you can record, but what you're supposed to do is record at a certain distance. And that's what I like to teach people and tell people all the time. You have the right to record. Don't ever think that you don't. You have the right to record if you see an officer making an arrest. You see an officer on a stop. You have the right to record. What you don't do is you don't have the right to walk up on the stop. You have to record from a certain distance to where as though you can articulate, I didn't put that officer in fear for his life. I was at a safe distance. And that's what people don't understand. Now, for the people that are at a safe distance and the officers still get upset, my question is why? I've always asked that why. I don't have a problem with somebody recording me when I'm on a stop. I have no problem with somebody recording me when I'm on a stop. That doesn't bother me. If I'm arresting somebody or I pet stop somebody, I pull somebody in a car, I don't have a problem with somebody recording me. You have to give me my distance. You have to give me my space because I don't know you. I don't know you, and you walking up on me, you are putting me. Yes, you are putting. I'm thinking, why are you walking? This has nothing to do with you. Why are you walking up? Are you going to do something? You're putting me at that cautious state of mind, that extra caution state of mind. You're putting me at more alert. So yes, you do have the right to record, and I'd say that to everyone. You have the right to record. You do have the right to ask, why are you being stopped? Don't never let a cop tell you you don't have the right to ask that. You have the right to ask, why are you being stopped? And they have to tell you why you're being stopped. As a law enforcement officer, you have to tell. I always tell people why they're being stopped, whether they ask me or not. If it gets to the point where that person has not asked me why they being stopped, I actually ask them, do you know why I stopped you? No. This is why I stopped you. Boom, boom, boom. And I break it down to them. Oh, okay. I got you. I hear you, officer. I hear you. I de-escalate a situation before it even occurs by willingly giving that information. Hi, how you doing, sir? How you doing, ma'am? This is why I stop you. You got your identification on you? I tell them right away why I'm stopping them, why I'm approaching them. For one, they have the right to know. For two, it de-escalates situations, because if they know for a fact, which they do know, what they did was wrong, and okay, this officer saw me do it. He just told me he saw me do it. I know that I did it. You can't beat around that. You can't beat that battle. I'm not saying that that situation is not going to escalate. I'm not saying that. You know, there are situations to where I've been in where it escalated, but I was able to articulate, why I did what I did, why I did, arrested the person. I told this person why I pulled them over, or why I stopped them, what's going on. When people ask me for my name and badge number, I actually get to the point that either I give it to them right there, word of mouth. Sometimes I say to them, hold on a second, let me finish, my investigation. I'm going to write it down for you so that you can have it. I write it down on a piece of paper. I write my name and badge number down on a piece of paper and give it to them and tell them, my headquarters is located at such and such, address. You can feel free to go in and file a complaint if you feel as though that I didn't have the right to stop you, whatever the case may be, and we can take it further. The reason why I address a situation like that is so that they know I am very confident in why I stopped you. I didn't stop you for no reason. And you actually, regardless on why I stop you, you'd have the right to know. It's just that easy. It's common sense to me. You have the right to know why I stopped you, regardless on whether I stopped you was wrong or not. Which you did was wrong or not. You have the right to know, and you actually eliminate a lot of problems by letting them know. I saw what you did. This is what you did, and this is why I stopped you. I've gained so much respect from that. So much respect. I've locked people up, and they knew by me just processing them and doing their paperwork before they were even charged. They knew that they were going to do time because of what they did, and I had them thank me. I've had them treat other officers like, F you, get out of here. I ain't talking to you. I've gotten on the scene of other officers' arrests, and they said, I'm not talking to that officer, but I'll talk to you. Only because of their approach, because of their respect, because how I carry myself, and because how I treat them during their arrest. So I think that a lot of things, I see a lot of people don't realize when they see videos sometimes, a lot of people say stuff like, well, if they just listened to the officer, then that wouldn't have happened. If they just applied, if they just listened to what the officer said, then that wouldn't have happened. And I understand what people are saying, but what people are saying, you're not seeing the whole video. All the guy is saying is, why did you pull me over? So if you want to sit up here and say, well, he just listened to the officer and just gave him his ID. Well, if the officer just did his job and told him why he was pulled over, then maybe that guy would have said, damn, all right, yeah, you're right. Here's my ID. Stop thinking that you're above and beyond as a police officer. Stop thinking that you're way up here and everybody else is way down here. You already are. People know that you already are authority figure. You're a police officer. You're in uniform. They see that. They know. But you can't take away their right of knowing why you stopped them. They have a right to know. If you just tell them why you stopped them, that you saw them doing what they're doing, and you stopped them for that reason, and then they still refuse to give you their identification, then now you can articulate why you had to arrest them for failure to, present an identification. Now you have more on them that you can say, that you can articulate. But when you put yourself in a position to not even tell them why they stopped or not produce your name and identification, you're now wrong. You're wrong as a police officer. You may have just agitated the situation that you didn't have to. You didn't have to. You could have de-escalated that right away, because they would have saw, regardless on whether I like the fact that I'm stopped or not, at least this officer had enough respect and enough professionalism to tell me why I'm stopped.
Makes sense.
It's common sense to me, man. It's just that easy.
Well, common sense ain't that common anymore.
Very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about equality, I guess. Is there a difference in the treatment of cops or how cops are treated. So, like for instance, you got female cops, you got male cops, you got cops of different ethnicities.
Mm-hmm.
We've already covered racism. Is sexism a problem in law enforcement? Or let me see
Yes.
if I'm asking that. Are you able to kind of go more into that in regards to like sexism, the difference in treatment, pay, or anything like that?
You'll either get treated like you're made of gold if you're a female, or you're going to get treated like you're the outcast because you didn't want to sleep with anybody. That's very true. It happens. That's very, very true.
Now, is that a common thing, or is that? Go ahead.
In my opinion, yes, it's very common. It's very common. And there's not an officer out there that's going to tell me that they don't know of a situation of a female officer getting ahead because she's a female, whether she slept with somebody or not. I'm not saying that they did. I mean, you have situations where they didn't, but because the person that's higher up wants to, and in their mind eventually that maybe they could if they, give them, they can move forward. They can move forward that. Or you have females out there that are blackballed or that are talked about. Or I know a female that was called, several names and treated differently, because she didn't want to sleep with a certain officer. And I tip my hat off to her for standing her grounds, because she definitely stood her grounds and her morals. And I respect her for that. Now, I'm not trying to say that every officer that's a female that's of rank, that has made a high level in career, that they slept with somebody. Heck no, I would never say that. There are some outstanding police officers out there that are female. I've learned from some of them that were police officers way before me. I've learned from some of them. They're very street smart and they're outstanding officers. They are. But yes, it does. It does go on. It does go on. Yes, that's very true.
So, is it more of a sexual harassment thing? Is it, a cultural thing?
I know sexual harassment. I know of a Hispanic female that was sexually harassed on duty, and that officer that sexually harassed her kept his job. She was actually forced off the shift that she was on because they were all on the same shift. She was forced off the shift, but he wasn't. He got a little slap on the wrist, kept his job. Sexual harassment is not allowed at McDonald's. How do you keep your job and you have sexually harassed? And this wasn't the only report of harassment on a female. There was reports before that report. This was like the third or fourth report of harassment on a female. So he had a track record of harassing females, still kept his job. But me as a black man speaks up against things like that. I talked about that in one of the interviews that I was interviewed with when the question was asked. I spoke up on it and I was pushed out the door for it. So should I take a knee or should I praise the flag? what do you? I've experienced inequality. I've seen females get sexually harassed in law enforcement. Yes, I've seen it.
And so with them coming forward, let's say reporting sexual harassment or whatever, are they facing similar backlash or punishment because they're reporting that information as like a cop who reports police misconduct would face some backlash or whatever the consequences are. Are these females under similar or the same threats for coming
That
forward
female was
about
fired.
really?
That female was fired. She wasn't fired. So you have to realize how it works. Nobody is gonna say, I fired that person for filing a sexual harassment charge. Nobody's gonna do that. Nobody, and I'm telling the people that's gonna watch this, nobody's gonna say, I fired. If a woman files a sexual harassment complaint on an officer, They're not going to say, well, we're firing her because she filed a sexual harassment complaint. No, nobody's that dumb. It doesn't work that way. What they're going to do is they're going to slowly find a way to push her out the door. That's what they're going to do. And that's what happened to that particular officer. She was pushed out the door. She was fired. They had to find something to fire her on.
I'm aware how that works.
Yeah.
All right.
But it wasn't just because of that. You know, she was too also a witness to, the corruption that goes on, and she too also spoke out against it. So, and like I said, a lot of the officers that she spoke out against, a lot of officers that I spoke out against, question, are you a part of a hate group? So
conclusion is that
those are just facts, man. Those are just facts.
yeah.
I've seen it happen to females. It's just facts.
All right. So all right. All right. So let's talk about supporters. Let's talk about law enforcement supporters, because there's one in particular. I could think of a couple, but some of them are cops as well. But there's one gentleman in particular who I'm thinking about, whom I would say blindly supports law enforcement. And I say that because there have been times when I have spoken out against police misconduct, police brutality, some of the shooting, so on and so forth. And I was labeled, oh, you don't support the blue, oh, you're anti-cop, so on and so forth. And despite my arguments that no, I'm against the cops that are out here doing wrong, I still kind of get this label of, oh, it's almost suggestive, like, don't speak bad about the cops. Don't, even if, let's say, they beat up that suspect and planted something on him. Well, chances are he was the dirtbag anyway. And even if they have to plant something on him, that's just getting, that one extra dirtbag.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, and there has been support of violating individuals' rights out of the prejudice that person could potentially be a threat or a menace to society or whatever later on down the line. Oh, he probably had a record anyway. He's probably just, douchebag anyway. So what? The cops hit him a couple extra times or planted some evidence on him or something like that. And then in some of these responses, in some of the debates that I'm in, it seems like there are individuals who blindly support law enforcement, which I'm not against supporting law enforcement. I'm not against that at all. Blindly, yes, because, well, I'll put it this way. When it comes to me, I've had plenty of bad experiences with law enforcement. I've had plenty of good experiences with law enforcement. I've worked with some outstanding cops. I've worked with some dirtbag cops. My take on it is I take a cop individually just as I would take anybody else out on the street. There are African Americans who I've had bad experiences with, obviously, and even family members. There are African Americans I've had great experiences with who welcome me in like family. Same thing with Latinos. I've experienced racism from Latinos. I've had Latinos take me into their family, literally take me into their family as if I was one of theirs.
Same
I've had, and I'll point them out. I have Caucasian family members, some of whom aren't blood, some whom are.
Same here.
I take individuals as they come, and I suggest to people to do the same thing with cops. Don't hate all cops because of the actions of a whole bunch. Each encounter should be a brand new encounter, so on and so forth. When a cop did something great, like that cop in, I think it was Northern Florida, who helped save a baby, that wasn't breathing or something, outstanding. That's one of those examples, that cops should be known of.
Right.
But when there are cops doing stuff like choking people out, which, you know, you're blocking someone's airway. You know, you could potentially crush the airway, you know, and that situation doesn't deem deadly force or that kind of use of force. I speak out on it. But there are those individuals whom, regardless of what cops do, they're always right. They're always right, regardless whether they're violating someone's rights, regardless whether they planted evidence, regardless whether they lied on their paperwork to prosecute somebody. What would you say as a cop towards those people? And maybe I'm wrong for my views. Maybe I'm wrong. What would you say, you know, to those people who blindly support law enforcement, regardless of what wrongs they're doing?
That they're a part of the problem. If you want to go into specific names, which, you know, I don't think that that's appropriate right now, but, you know, to get into specific name calling, but I would definitely say that you are a part of the problem. If you turn your other cheek and think that every single cop, is out here is he or she has done exactly what they're supposed to do just because you're all for cops. First of all, you're supposed to be for the good cops. That's what you're supposed to be. Whether you're a cop or not, you're supposed to be for the good first responders, the good cops. For the ones that are crooked, they are the same to me as a criminal out in the street. As a matter of fact, you're worse. Because a criminal is going to be a criminal. You are supposed to be held to a higher standard. You are the one that took an oath to be for the people, and you are corrupt towards the people. You're worse than a criminal in my eyes. So that's my take on things. And that's how I feel towards corruption and crooked cops. But I've learned in life I can't make everybody think the way that I think. I've learned in life that I can't expect for everybody to think, how I think and feel the way that I feel. You have sellouts out here. Sellouts exist. And anybody out there that doesn't realize that, shame on you. Sellout exists in all shapes and sizes and all colors. There's no one color of a sellout. That comes in all colors. All colors. So anyone that's for every single cop, I mean, you need to check yourself. I'm only, like I told you, and I said this before earlier in the video, and I always would say this. I'm for good cops. I know good cops. I know good cops that, like I said, they have bought people clothes, bought people food. I know cops that will pick up the phone. I'm talking about Caucasian cops, black cops, Hispanic cops that will pick up the phone and invite you into their homes. So I can't sit up here and say that bad cops is one color. That's not true. Bad cops come in all colors. There's been some black officers that I look at and be like, yo, dude, do you hate your own people? Like, what's wrong with you? That I've questioned that. And there have been some white officers that I said, do you hate black people? I've questioned that. But there have been some white officers that offered me the shirt off their backs. I remember a time to where though I didn't have a car because of what I went through of losing my job at the previous job. I had a white officer call me and say, I got a couple vehicles. You want to hold one of my vehicles? But did he do that for recognition? No, he did that because that was in his heart to do. I've seen that particular officer lock somebody up that's black. And because, we didn't transport right away, it was like, look, before I transport you, do you want something to eat? I'll run to Wawa real quick and get you something to eat. And we had to lock this guy up. We had to lock this person up. This was a white officer locking up a black person and said, I'll go get you something to eat, and went and got them something to eat. So you can't say that bad comes in all shapes and sizes and colors, man. And I've had some black people, some Hispanic people that have done some outstanding things in the community, actually in the community for children. I've seen it. I was a part of it. So you can't just be for all cops. You only should be for the good cops. And you have to know within yourself that there are bad cops out there. And if there are bad cops out there, I don't want to hear no excuses. I don't want to hear, this cop did this or this cop did that. Or this cop was afraid. That's why he did it. Or this cop's life was in fear. That's why he did it. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. If you're a crooked, corrupt cop and you know who you are, for the ones that are out there, I got a few choice words for you, but I'm not going to say that here on the video. But no, I'm not with you. I'm not with you. I'm not for you. You're not my brother. You're not my sister. I can care less for you. You make the good cops out here look bad. You make the ones that are out here that are good cops, you make us look bad. We are the good ones, and you make us look bad. So no, I'm not for you. And for the people who take up for them, they're just as bad as them. They're just as
I
bad.
want to. I definitely want to touch on that before I move on, because I made this argument, and the response that I got was kind of funny. Whenever I put on my uniform and I go out, and I catch heat, I catch flack, just because of my uniform, even if I'm approaching a person just to say hi or whatever, I catch flack, and it's
Right,
understandable,
right,
because they've probably had some negative, encounters with cops
right,
elsewhere or whatever.
right, right,
And, I still carry myself professionally unless they escalated to that situation where, something else has to be done.
right,
But my concern, and I've expressed this, is that every time you got crooked cops out here that's doing something, mistreating people, creating that hate and that division in this community, that puts a target on my back, on everybody else with my agency's back, with all these other cops out here on their back, the good cops and stuff like that. And, I've tried to make this argument with some of the people that blindly follow, cops regardless of police corruption. You can't support the good cops and support the bad cops, because it's the bad cops that are creating targets on the backs of the good cops.
right.
But for some strange reason, people aren't understanding that, and I
And
just wanted to throw that
the
out there.
more not to cut you off, but the more that people see that there are people out here that will support a bad cop, that also puts people in rage, and that also puts the good cops at danger. Because
Yes, it
now
does.
they develop this mindset that all of you are that way. You got people out here taking up for bad cops, really? Or you got people out here that are speaking up against bad cops, and they're the ones that get fired, and the bad cops keep their jobs, really? And there have been too many. I'm not the only one that has been through that. You mentioned situations. The one in Maryland, the couple cops that were in New York. That were on on TV speaking out against it.
Hmm. The cop
So
down in
I
Miami,
applaud.
Florida Highway
I
15.
applaud all of them. But yes, like I said, the ones who disagree, with the cop, and good and well that that cop had no business doing that, and you want to make an excuse. Oh, what did that person do? Oh, how can a person just didn't do this? How can a person just do that? You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Anyone that just agrees with that, you are a part of the problem. And when people see that there are people out here that agree with that, it keeps them enraged. It keeps them their attitudes that way, and I can't blame them. I can't blame them at all.
Do you have any inspirational words or encouragement, words of encouragement or inspiration for the good cops that are out here?
Oh, absolutely. Continue to be who you are, regardless on what the bad ones have done. Continue to be who you are, because it's still your job, regardless of what the bad ones have done. You still have to go to work and put a uniform on. It is your job to make a positive difference for the people. As a police officer, I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. You are there for the people. You are there to protect and serve and protect, whatever order you want to put it in, but you're there for the people. So yes, you have your ones that are the bad apples, if that's what you want to call them. But don't let that stop you or deter you from being who you are. Don't let someone on the street stop you or deter you from being, who you are. You are who you are for a reason. It's not easy. You don't roll out of the bed and say, "Hey, I want to be a cop," and think it's that easy. It's not that easy. It's hard being a cop. But you know what? Like I said, what keeps me going is when I know I've helped somebody, not when I'll lock somebody up. That's not what gives me the thrill. I know that that's a part of my job, and I've done it, and I will do it again if I have to. But what gives me that thrill is when I know that I've helped somebody. I had the power to help someone. That's a feeling that I can't even describe, man. So I want for other officers out there that are the good officers to have that same feeling. I want them to feel what I felt when I helped somebody. And I know it gets hard. I know you can get disgruntled, and I know that there are certain things that go on a job that can make you lose track. There are personal life experiences that can make you lose track of who you are when you had that uniform on. And I'm just here to tell somebody, just take a breather and think about what you're gonna do before you get out on the street. And when you get on the street, try to help somebody. Try to help somebody. You never know who you're going to help and the difference that you're going to make. I'm not saying that person that you help is going to grow up to become a police officer. I'm not saying that, but you may have changed their lives. You may have done something to them psychologically that's going to make them become that doctor or that lawyer or whatever they become. You don't think that because somebody has a criminal record that they can't change. Talk to the person. Do you know how many people I've locked up and I've talked to during their arrest, and I later saw them down the line, and their appearance was totally different? I knew they were off drugs. I knew they were off alcohol. They were out of jail after doing whatever time they had to do, and they actually thanked me. They actually shook my. I have people ask me, "Yo, man, can I buy you? You buying some pizza? You buying yourself some lunch? Can I buy it for you?" The respect that you gave me, man, I never got from a cop. Do you know how that made me feel, man? To hear that, get that type of love. I can go into the projects and they can be out there barbecuing and playing ball. And can I get something to eat? Yeah, sure. Come on. You can get something to eat. Yeah. Something one of them other cops can't, but you could come down here. You understand what I'm saying? So for all the
Mm-hmm.
cops out there that have a good heart, continue doing what you're doing. Don't think that you're not making a difference. Don't think that it don't matter. Even if you do something well for somebody and they don't say thank you, don't let it stop you from doing what I've seen officers, besides myself, do something for somebody and it totally changed their way of thinking, their demeanor, not just towards cops. I'm talking about life in general, because they thought that nobody loved them and they thought that nobody cared for them. But who was there for me? Oh, that cop. That cop that was there for me. So all the good cops out there, continue to be who you are, continue doing what you're doing, continue to touch, people out here, especially children. And I salute you and I love you and I respect you and I support you.
And excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Is there anything about your situation in particular, your personal situation? Is there anything about that you would like to say or express?
It's still an open case right now. So it's not too much that I'm gonna touch bases on. One thing I can say that I was forced out speaking up against racism and corruption. If you wasn't so racist, if you wasn't so corrupt, why was I forced out the door? You understand what I'm saying? One
Mm-hmm.
thing I've learned is that I've learned that, like I said, you take a righteous stance and you could be blackballed for it, but you know what? I want to take it back for the world. I can look at myself in the mirror. I can say that, what my enemies designed to destroy me, what they created to destroy me, is actually going to make me stronger. It's not going to destroy me. It's going to destroy them because they're not happy in their lives. But that's neither here nor there. That's another video that we can do if you want to about spiritual talk. Because like I said, Christ is first in my life. So the first thing I had to do, I had to put myself in a position just to move on. I'm still going through a lot mentally, because of it. And like I said, I've put my life and my hard work into being a cop, and look what happened to me for speaking up against the racism and the corruption. It hurts. It hurts. It gives you a form of PTSD. It really, really hurts, and people don't understand it. People don't understand. You don't get your phone calls. Pretty much too much of. I'm just calling to check up on you, man. If you want to talk about your situation, you don't get that. You're like you feel alone. Which creates mental problems. So it taught me a lot taught me a lot about myself. It taught me about how much fight I have within me. It taught me about the corruption that exists in the courts. It's a lot of corruption that exists in the courts. Even in my case taught me that. My case actually taught me that that I have that's an open case. I really would like to touch bases on it. I guess when it's closed, I can touch bases on it and talk about it. And if any lawyers want to call me and talk to me about it when the whole case is all said and done and over with, feel free to call me and talk to me about it. Feel free to contact me and and we can talk about it, because there are some unanswered questions that I have about my situation. That there is no answer for them. So if there's no answer for them, then why did it happen? Why, if you can't put an answer to why you did what you did, then why was it done? I have no choice but to say that it's corruption. I have no choice but to say that. And one day, hopefully, I can be interviewed and talk more in depth about that as well. But I'm here to tell the people, man, it exists, man. It exists. And like I said, I don't know whether I'm gonna have a law enforcement career ever again. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I'm able to look at myself in the mirror. I'm able to know that I made a righteous stand. I'm able to know that I did something righteously, and that God is proud of me for doing it. I knew it wasn't going to be easy when I did it. I knew it wasn't going to be easy when I was, the key witness to the situation that happened, that took place. I knew the outcome. I knew what was coming, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop me. That doesn't mean it's never going to stop me. I had to do what I had to do because it had to be done. It had to righteously be done. If I turn the other cheek, then who am I? You stand for something or you'll fall for anything.
Mm-hmm.
You stand for something or you'll fall for anything. The people before us have made a righteous stand. If they didn't make that stand, would they have been who they are? You think it was easy for slaves? You think it was easy for Harriet Tubman? You think it was easy for Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey? You think it was easy for them? Thurgood Marshall, the Brown versus Board of Education. You think it was easy to fight a case to where it says that black people can go to the same schools as white people? You think it was easy to do that? No, it wasn't. But they made that stand. They made that righteous stand. They did what they had to do. They made that stand, and because of it, we can look at our history and we can look at things like that and say, wow, that's an example. Those people set an example on how we should be and what we should be doing. And in my opinion, I'm a part of that example. I made a stand against police corruption. I'm a part of that example. And I can look at myself in the mirror. I have a story to tell to my children or grandchildren. Whoever my wife is, my wife to be, whoever she is, whenever I meet her, I have a story to tell. I have a story to teach others how to be strong. It's not easy. I will not lie to you. I will be very honest with you. It is hard to make that stand, but you know what? You got to make it. You got to make it if you want change. If everybody had that mentality, I'm going to stand up against this, would it be a better place? Would there be change? We fall and we lack
Mm-hmm.
when you only have a selective few that's willing to do it. That's where we go wrong. So I don't take back what I've done. And I'll be honest with you, I've suffered from it and I don't take it back. That suffering is what's going to make me. That suffering is what's going to build me. I may never again be able to go for another law enforcement career, especially after this video. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, not this guy. Okay, fine. That's fine. That doesn't mean my life stops. That doesn't mean that I can't find something else to do. That doesn't mean that God is not going to bless me in a different area to continue to do what I love to do, which is help people. Be of a positive voice, be of a strong voice. One thing you will never take away from me, you will never take away my voice. I won't allow it. It's my gift. It's my gift that God has given me to be able to speak and touch people with my words so they can understand me and understand what's going on out here, have a better understanding within themselves. It's my gift. You will never stop it. One form or fashion, I will continue to speak, and that's facts. And glory to God for that. not to myself. Don't praise me. No. Glory to God for that. Because it is He that has given me the gift to be strong enough to be able to stand and make that righteous stand, regardless on the outcome. I did it even saying to myself, and I've said this to people, and I'm going to say it again on video live, even if it meant my life. Even if it meant my life. The only thing that I asked for is that people continue to tell my daughter, your father was a righteous man, and he made a righteous stand. That's what I was prepared for, if it meant my life, man. As a police officer, I am for the people. I like to protect and serve the right way. And I couldn't stand for the police corruption because that's not serving the people. I've done my job well, and I will continue to speak. I will continue to do my job. What I'm blessed here on this earth to be able to do. And glory to God for that, man. All praises to Heavenly Father for that, man.
Yep. And you know, a lot of cops aren't going to like you after this video, right? A lot of civilians
Absolutely.
will, but you know, a lot of cops aren't going to like you for this, right?
You said a lot of civilians will?
A lot of civilians, I think a lot of civilians will respect you for what you said and done in this video, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of cops out there that won't like you because of this video and what you said.
Well, then that raises a lot of questions. If you don't like me for the facts that I'm giving you, if you don't like me for the truth that I'm giving you and everything that I've said in this video, then you are part of the problem. And that's facts. I didn't say that I was against all cops. I said I'm against the crooked cops. And if you don't have it in you to speak up against a crooked cop, whether you're a cop or not, then you're a part of the problem. And that's facts. So honestly, I don't care. I don't care on who's against me as a cop on what I'm saying. I know that there's a lot of cops that will agree on what I'm saying, whether they are outspoken about it or not, whether they just call me personally or not and say, hey, yo, man, that was deep. You're absolutely right about what you're saying. I go through it too. I see it too. Whether they speak out against it or not. So the ones that are against me, I can care less. You're against me for a reason. You're against me for a reason. But like I said, I'm here for the people. As long as the people hear me and can learn from this and can know, if they feel free to want to contact me, get in touch with me and talk to me about more in depth and want to learn more, fine. I'm here for the people. I'm not here for the crooked cops. I'm not here to care about what cop agree with me and who you don't agree. You only disagree with me because you know I'm right and you know you're a part of it. Point blank and simple.
Officer Shaw, thank you for your time in this interview. If it's okay with you, I'll go ahead and leave some kind of contact information or whatever, be it email or whatever, down in the description part
Yeah,
of
I'll
the
leave my
video.
email address. You can leave my
Okay.
email. I gave you my email address already, right?
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and leave that in the description part. Once I break down, the description of the video, and I'm really grateful to have you on here and to be able to have interviewed you. And hopefully, whenever your personal case is over and stuff like that, if you're willing to speak more on that, we can do a second interview and put some more information out there or whatever. But
Absolutely.
thank you,
Absolutely, man.
thank you seriously for your
Thank
time.
you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It shows that somebody does care about, that more cops are trying to speak out. And like I said, for the cops that are in New York that spoke out, I respect you, salute to you, more power to you. I love you for it. For the cop who lost his life in Baltimore for speaking up, God bless his soul. And any other cop that's in a situation that has spoken up, I respect you for it. I respect you for it. We need more like you. We need more like us. And I encourage more. People to start to speak up. But like I said, I appreciate you. If there's anybody else that wants to talk to me, wants to interview me, has more questions that they want answers to, like I said, feel free to contact me in the email that you're going to send, and we can go from there. I'm going to be a voice. I'm going to be a voice for the people who don't know what really goes on. I'm willing to make that righteous stance again and again and again and be that positive voice for the people, because that's my gift. That's my gift. But I love you and I appreciate you and I thank you for and God bless you. God bless you in your campaign. God bless you in your walk in law enforcement, your walk in life, your walk in Christ. And continue to stay prayed up, continue to stay and pray for people, man, and pray for me as well. You know, because it's not easy, it's
Absolutely.
rough, but I'm going to continue pushing. My love is for Christ and I am here to stay.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for
So
your
God
time.
bless you, man. Thank you. Thank you for interviewing me. I appreciate it. I mean, it shows the care, it shows the love that people want to know, and I want to, be the one to be the voice to tell you. And thank you for listening. Thank you for wanting to know. Thank you for using me as a vessel to educate the people. I appreciate that.
Yeah, can't make changes without the information, without proper intelligence and knowledge and stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
with this information, I can definitely go forward with plans and trying to develop plans for change, and hopefully with
Right.
this platform, put that out there and people will listen.
And I
But
don't
without
want
you,
people
this stuff wouldn't happen.
I don't want people to just listen to me. I want people to go online, and pull up the case of New York, of the New York cops speaking up. Pull it up and see that everything that I've said in this video is true. Pull it up. Pull up the Caucasian officer that used to work for Baltimore police, that has done interviews on TV, and on social media and everything, that he's talking about what's going on. And what happens is that pull it up. You don't have to take my word for it if you don't want to. And then okay, I respect that. You can pull up other people, other police officers that have made the same stand, that's speaking up against the same things.
And I'm gonna attach those links to some of those videos in the description of this
Absolutely.
video as well. So that way
Absolutely.
some people can tune into that and check that out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wish I was there to shake your hand, man.
Hey,
But
man, one day we'll be able to meet and we'll be able to, break bread together, man. Pray for
absolutely,
each other and give it to God, man. Because he's watching us and he wants us to do well. And we will make him proud.
absolutely, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah,
All right,
God is
brother. You
first,
have a good
man.
one. All right.
God is always first. Believe it.
Yeah, always, always,
Absolutely.
always. All right, brother. Take it easy.
All right, peace, man.
Peace.